The regular session of the Clarksville City Council will now be called to order. Our chaplain of the day will be Pastor Bill Graham, Associate Pastor of the First Baptist Church. Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilperson Amber Marquis. I'll invite you to stand if you wish. And Brother Bill, if you would, please lead us in prayer.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for the gift of today. Your word tells us to trust in you with all our heart, to lean not to our own understanding, acknowledge you in all our ways and in all our meetings, so that you will direct our path. Father, we do not rely on ourselves for effective results, for we are only human and often make mistakes. It is you who knows all things. So, Father, have your divine way in this council meeting. Bless the mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and all of the council members, so that this council, as they represent their families, will make decisions tonight for your glory and honor and for the common good. May everything they say and do bring glory to your name. In Jesus' name, amen. Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Members, please register your attendance. Madam Clerk, take the roll.
All members are present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have two special recognitions. I'll call on Councilperson Stacy Streetman for the first one. You're recognized in the well.
Coach Randy Huth, could you join me up here, please? The City of Clarksville would like to give you this Certificate of Excellence for your outstanding leadership and historic run as a coach in the Little League World Series. I didn't want to forget anything, so I made sure I wrote this down. I've known Randy since I was in middle school. Then in later years, we worked together in the restaurant business. He has always been such a great guy that has cared about others and been willing to give his time to do for others. He's also the guy that got me to jump out of an airplane as a fundraiser for a local charity. There are so many people in this city that are super proud of Randy for what he has accomplished. He is the first U.S. manager to take the same program to the Little League World Series 3 years in a row. He and his team, the Nolensville Little League team, known across the country as Stella and the Fellas, were amazing representatives of Tennessee. I really enjoyed watching the games, but as I told him earlier, I also really enjoyed watching Randy and the way he led those players. One of my favorite moments in the games was actually after one of their last games. This game was quite the pitcher's duel. And both of these amazing pitchers actually pitched complete games. After his team won the game, the very first thing Randy did was go over to hug and talk to the other pitcher. And leading by example, every one of his players followed right over and did the exact same thing. It was a great example of good sportsmanship. I know I can say this, and many in Clarksville will agree. Randy himself learned from example. His father, Mr. Jim Huth, is a historic figure in St. Bethlehem Little League. He was part of that program for 45 years, serving as a coach, and he also served as the president of the league. There's even a field named after him at Civitan Park. He coached Randy when he was young, and then he coached alongside Randy when Randy was older. And I know his dad would be just as proud of him as we all are here in Clarksville. So Randy, thank you for being willing to serve. Thank you for being willing to teach these young kids things that will help them in life long after they've left that ball on the field. And thank you for being willing to give a part of yourself to help shape the next generation.
Thank you so much.
Now make it 4 in a row.
That's right.
Coach, anytime you're ready to come back to Clarksville.
That's right. That's right.
I would like to say, too, all of the pins that you received tonight, those are Little League World Series pins for the Nolensville Little League team that was a gift of Mr. Randy Huth himself.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you. Councilperson Smith, you're recognized for special recognitions. You're recognized in the well.
I guess I need to pull this mask off. Thank you. First, I would like to give a brief history about Emancipation Day for the viewers as well. August the 8th is a historical breakthrough that altered the course of history for the masses in Tennessee. On January the 1st of 1863, when President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, approximately 7 months later, Lieutenant Governor Andrew Johnson freed his slaves on August the 8th of 1863. The first known celebration was held in Greenville, Tennessee in 1871. It was coordinated by Andrew Johnson's freed slave, Sam Johnson. Also, former Tennessee Governor Phil Bradison signed House Bill 207, acknowledging the 8th of August as Emancipation Day in the state of Tennessee. Further, Governor Bill Lee acknowledged the 8th of August as Emancipation Day in Tennessee in 2020. He said, and I quote, "Every American deserves the rights and freedoms to afford them through the United States Constitution, and it is fitting to honor and remember a day that brought about freedom from bondage and slavery." Lastly, on April the 1st of 2021, Resolution 66, 2020-21 passed unanimously by the City Council to make August the 8th a state-paid holiday. Now, to recognize the team that helped make this August the 8th a successful event. Most civic dreams come true when a team or a body of dedicated people of various functions work together to establish an event known as the 8th of August celebration. It was held on August the 5th of this year. Some people worked behind the scenes, and some worked on the scenes, which has made the event successful each year. Without further ado, Mayor Pitts and I, along with, I don't know if they made it, I don't think they made it, well, however, Quita and Robert, there was death, so he might not show up tonight. We want to recognize the people personally that have been the backbone supporters and forerunner supporters of this historic event. I'm going to read one award, and when I call your name, please come up and stay up here with me so I won't look lonely. No, so you can receive your award. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. This award is presented to Captain Travis Fillmore, and it reads as thus: "Thank you for your untiring support of the Emancipation Day celebration held on August the 5th, 2023, signed by Mayor Pro Tem Wanda Smith and Mayor Joe Pitts." Thank you. This is your certificate. Next award goes to Minister Cindy Pitts, and it reads the same. Thank you for your untiring support of the Emancipation Day celebration held on August the 5th. Mayor Pro Tem Wanda Smith and your husband, Mayor Joe Pitts. Did we break the camera? It's froze. Let's see. The next award goes to Miss Jennifer Letourneau. You know, Miss Letourneau started out with me some years ago. She was at the table when we had made the decisions, when I put together the parade. And the mayor was at the table, some policemen was at the table, and we had to make a decision. Which way is this parade going to go? And some other decisions, and she was there. She thinks she didn't do nothing, but she has been the backbone and support of the Emancipation Day along with some of her employees, and I want to thank her as well. Thank you, baby. Our next award goes to Miss Emily Graves, and it says the same. Miss Emily Graves. She always makes sure everybody's notified. She makes sure the route is clear. She does a lot of things. She's the backbone as well. Thank you, Emily. Next award goes to Miss Renee Ross. Miss Renee is the first person you see when you go into Parks and Recreation. She has a friendly smile, and she's very welcoming. Thank you, Miss Renee. It goes the same. It says the same thing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. She'll need to sign these.
I'll sign them. I don't know. What about Miss Erica Clark? Is she here? All right. She has always supported. I think she's over the manager of the facilities. Thank you. And everything else. Mayor Youth Council as well. I don't know. Is Mr. Orville Sites here? Is Mr. Sites here? Okay. He works at the street department. He's a little shy. I told him about it. Okay, the next one goes to, our clerk. I know she's administrative here. Administrator, I believe. Clerk, Miss Stephanie Jenkins. Miss Jenkins. Come on, Miss Jenkins, you know what? You know what she does? She always type up my awards. She makes sure everything is together. Oh, amen. How sweet. God bless you. Thank you.
1, 2, 3.
Okay. Now, I got to sign a lot of them. I didn't know I was, but it's okay. I'll sign them. If you have some certificates, just leave them here and I'll sign them and we'll get them back to you, okay? Thank you. The next one goes to Pastor Charles W. Rafford. This man always allows us to use his parking lot free. And since he couldn't be here, we're going to ask Mr. Hafford to come forward and accept this award for his pastor, 5th Ward Baptist Church. They always allow us to use the parking lot. I try to give him a donation. Thank you. Is Anton Jones here? Okay, he couldn't be here. All right, and so that concludes our awards, and I want to say thank you again, Ms. Letourneau, and every one of you who have supported this. You have been the backbone, and you have been the strength for me to continue to go on. I want to thank the mayor. I have always called on Mayor Pitts, and he has been my backbone. He has been the forerunner. He stands with me, and I thank him for that. Some of y'all don't see us talk, but guess what? We walk together in unity, and we become as one. You know, Mayor Pitts is the type of guy, he's respected by the Republicans and the Democrats, and he's a very good person that you can lean and depend on when you need something. So let me shake his hands. I already given him his award. He's standing back looking like he ain't done nothing. See, don't let him fool you. Can we get a group picture, please? No, I gave him an award at the function. He has a Tennessee-made award that I gave him, and the chief of police. So I already given him his award. See, you don't never blast out. Mayor, where you at? Get over. Come over here. Get over here. Oh, in front of your wife. Wherever you want to be. Get beside your wife. Yeah. Why you doing that? All right, thank you.
Everybody. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Take these bags.
Okay, I'll send. Okay. Okay.
Okay, next item on our agenda is the Planning Commission report. Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 7 items on our agenda tonight. Madam Clerk, will you please read the ordinances and resolutions?
Ordinance 22, 2023, 24, first reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Bill Ballou for zone change on property located on a parcel of land fronting on the west frontage of Needmore Road, 425 plus or minus feet north of the Needmore Road and Crestview Drive intersection from AG Agricultural District to R2 Single Family Residential District. Ordinance 23, 2023, 24, first reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Michael Lee Gray for zone change on property located on a portion of attractive land fronting on the north frontage of Pollard Road, 680 plus or minus feet west of the Pollard Road and Dominion Drive intersection from R1 Single Family Residential District to ACG Agricultural Commercial District. Ordinance 24, 2023, 24, first reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of WPN LLC, Therese Winnington agent, for zone change on property located on a parcel located west of the Beach Street and Mitchell Street intersection from R3, 3-family residential district, to R4, multiple family residential district. Ordinance 25, 2023, 24, first reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Maxie K. West and Nicole K. West, Rosemary Calces, Esquire agent, for zone change on property located on attractive land located at the northwest corner of the western intersection of Airport Road and Tandy Drive from R3, 3-family residential district, to R4, multiple family residential district. Ordinance 26, 2023, 24, first reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Faith Investments for zone change on 2 parcels fronting on the east frontage of North Whitfield Road, 675 plus or minus feet north of the Whitfield Road and Needmore Road intersection from R4 Multiple Family Residential District and AG Agricultural District to R5 Residential District. Resolution 6, 2023-24, a resolution approving the abandonment of unimproved alleyway south of Woodard Street, east of Greenwood Avenue, and west of Gracie Avenue. And Resolution 7, 2023-24, A resolution approving the abandonment of a portion of Wheeler Street, north of Commerce Street, south of Franklin Street, and west of South 11th Street.
Councilperson Streetman.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mayor, I move we go into public hearing.
Motion been made and properly seconded. We revert into public hearing without objection. We're now in public hearing. First item on our public hearing list is ordinance 22, 2023-24, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Bill Ballou. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of ordinance 22? Anyone in the audience wish to speak against ordinance 22? Next item is ordinance 23, 2023-24, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Michael Lee Gray. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of ordinance 23? If you would give us your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Michael Gray. I live at 342 Dunbrook Drive. I guess what I want to start out by saying is just kind of how we got here, how we got to this point. I built the building, or my father built the building approximately 3 years ago, and it was going to be somewhat of a shop for myself, and then going to be a living side where he was going to live in it. He was living on the little house that was there, and approximately two years ago, he passed away of cancer, and you know, it's set for about 6 to 8 months, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it, and I went in there and decided that I was going to try to just finish it out in my father's name. At the time, I never dreamed I would build anything that anybody would even want to rent. You know, but now this is kind of where I'm at. I didn't do it with a malice intent. You know, I know last week, you know, Mayor Pitt said something about the noise, and all I would say to that is that we do contracted events, and we have someone on site. It's not something that's just thrown out there on the whim. We're really only Saturdays and Sundays. You know, 50 to 60 cars, very small, nothing big. Last week, I sit in the audience and I listened to him, say that no permits was pulled on the building, and that's not correct. I'm sure he was just misinformed. I'm not sure building and codes had something to do with their system changing over. I'm not sure if it got lost. I've got electrical final, and I have a plumbing rough-in inspection. The reason I'm here at this point right now is because I called for a final on the building, and then building and code said, whoa, what are you using the building for? Because they seen how nice it was. I had no idea of anything about the zoning until that point. They said, okay, Mr. Gray, we're gonna help you get through this. Your first thing that you have to do is you got to go before the zoning board, and you have to get this thing rezoned. Made it sound real easy. And I was like, okay, cool. So they said, my engineers, he said, well, you might want to do 10 acres. That way you got some room for expanding. And I was like, man, that sounds great. That's cool. So then we get kind of closer to the time, and next thing you know, I start talking to the zoning board, and they was like, and we're going to vote for disapproval because you can put a dog kennel or a distillery, or the fear of the unknown, I guess, is what what I took from the conversation that I had with them. So I called the engineer back, and I said, look, buddy, I said, all I want is this building zoned. I said, that's it. I said, reduce it down from 10 acres and get it down to 1 acre that just includes the building, just a bare minimum. So then that's why we canceled it off the books and went another month. In closing, I just want to say, thank you to the city council. because I feel like that I've been heard as a citizen. No matter what the outcome is tonight, I feel like I spoke with pretty much each and every one of you, and you listened. Several of them was out there. Several council members was out there the day of and or the next day to talk with me, walk the property, and like I said, I just want to say thank you, and it's really restored my faith into the city of Clarksville, just how this organization right here is run, no matter how the vote goes tonight. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Hang on, Mr. Gray. We've got some folks that have questions.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm a little nervous.
So are we. Don't worry about it. Councilperson Little, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Gray, for reaching out. I came out there and looked at it, and it is beautiful. It's very beautiful, and the work that was put into it, especially the actions in respect to your father, I definitely respect you for that. I just have a couple questions.
Yes,
as
sir.
far as this parcel that you wanted to have rezoned, it's you said about 1 acre of. How much of the total land is owned by you, like altogether?
29 acres.
Okay, and so just as 1 acre.
Yes, sir.
And this 1 acre, I think you stated that this land would be, the building that's there pretty much encompasses that 1 acre along with parking and stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
So nothing else could be added on to that due to everything that's there.
No, sir. Nothing else will
Okay.
be added for sure.
And that's pretty much all the questions I have, and everything else you answered. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilperson Lovato, you're recognized.
First, I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me out to your land and showing me around and explaining what your vision is for that. I have several questions. Can you tell us how long has this land been in your family?
For approximately 40 to 45 years.
And where the building is that you built, what is the distance on either side between the building and the houses?
The one side that's probably closest to the houses is approximately 100 yards.
Okay. And there's a good bit of tree line between your event center and those houses that would help with any kind of noise that
Yes,
would be
ma'am.
coming from it. Within your contracts that you have with these people, do you have something in there about the noise, curfews, anything like
Yes.
that?
Yes, we close it down at 11 o'clock. I mean, there's no outside music, and every party's done by then. They might clean up afterwards till 12, but the parties are done at 11, the events. And like I said, we're catering to pretty much all weddings.
And then the last question that I have is because there was a concern of, if we get this zoned, that you might change it to something else, but that's not quite your vision. And what really resonated with me that wasn't was when I was driving on your property, there's a certain tree where there's a resting place. Can you
Correct.
tell the council about that resting place?
Yeah, I've made before my father passed away, we made him a memorial tree with a tulip poplar. So I went around it and I poured concrete around there, and that's where his ashes lay. I've begun to digging a pond there beside of it. We're gonna do like a waterfall coming off the side just in memory of him. And that's pretty much it. My father's ashes are laid on the property, so
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Councilperson Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Gray, have you talked to any of the residents around the area that you're building about how you're going to decrease the noise, or how is this going to work out for the neighborhood?
Yes, ma'am. I've spoken with everyone in my direct vicinity. I share a driveway with Mr. Greg Martin. He's here to speak, I reckon, next. But everyone that I've spoken to has been, to my face, has loved it. They love what I'm doing. They love the fact that it's not going to be a subdivision, green space, something for the community to gather and to be affordable. You know what I mean? I mean, not to break somebody's pocket to have a nice wedding or a nice ceremony. We're cheaper than anybody that's out there. I can promise you that. That doesn't mean anything, but at the same time, that's what we was going for, to be affordable to everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Councilperson Redd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. And that was part of my question as well. You know, Mr. Martin is really the only resident that can see or probably hear from where you share the same driveway there. And like the other council members, of course, this is still in my ward for the next year and few months. And I haven't received any calls or any complaints, and the sign is right on the curve. I mean, you can't miss it. And I would like to say it's just a beautiful facility, like some of the other council members said. If I was getting married, I would get married there. It's
I
really
appreciate that,
nice.
sir. That means a lot.
I was taken 43 years ago, so. But
What I would say to that about Mr. Martin is I never did anything until I spoke with him.
yes,
You know, during the whole process of this, he's helped me along the ways. We've been in this thing together. I would never do that to a neighbor. I mean, I've known him since I was knee high to a grasshopper, you know. So I mean, I've got a lot of respect for him, and for him to be standing up here behind me tonight, you know, it just means the world to me. And he's been a staunch advocate of me the whole way.
and I think he spoke with a lot of the neighbors as well.
Yes, and that, you know, you can talk to him about that. I don't.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Gray? Your daddy was a classmate of mine in Northwest High School, class of 1976. Hooah, all right. All
Thank you,
right.
sir.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor of ordinance 23? I heard that. I'm old enough for Medicare.
Yes, sir.
All right, you are recognized. Give us your name and address. You have 5 minutes.
My name is Greg Martin. I live at 597 Pollard Road. I'm the adjoining property of this venture, and it has been a blessing so far, okay? There's been no problems, and where problems could have occurred, there were none. The man is on top of it. You know, he does not want any trouble, and I, you know, say that it's just a wonderful thing. You know, there's, as far as I know, there's not a whole lot, you know, of venues in North Clarksville affordable, and what he's had up there, you know, has shown, you know, that it's needed. But me personally, I have no problem with it. You know, the noise has never been to where it was bothersome. And I'm not saying I'm real close to it now, but, you know, it's never been bothersome. So, you know, it has my blessing, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Martin. We have a question for you. Councilperson Redd, you're recognized.
I just want to make sure, Mr. Martin, I talked to you the day that I was out there. I want to make sure I got this right. You would rather have this facility there than, and as the applicant there, Mr. Gray, he's got 39 acres, and he could potentially put, I don't know how many houses could go on 39 acres. Probably everybody's smarter than I am. Maybe 90 or 100, I don't know. So you'd rather have the facility that's there now rather than have 100 houses there, am I correct?
You know, there's no argument, you know.
Okay, I just wanted to point that out.
Right, I mean, you know, I'm just, you know, if.
It was kind of a rhetorical question, but
I've been there at that property, you know, 35 years. So, you know, I've seen, you know, the previous owners and all, and I've seen what could have happened to this property if Mr. Gray had not taken over, you know, and, you know, no telling. I mean, you got 30 acres, you know, in the middle of a neighborhood, you know, it's just a recipe for, you know, trouble, you know, but now, you know, it's 30 acres of park, you know. But yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Very much. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
All right.
Anyone in the audience wish to speak against ordinance 23? Next item is ordinance 24, 2023-24, amending the zoning ordinance map of the city of Clarksville, application of WPN LLC. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of ordinance 24? Anyone in the audience wish to speak against ordinance 24? Next item is ordinance 25, 2023-24, amending the zoning ordinance map of the city of Clarksville, application of Maxie K. West and Nicole K. West. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of ordinance 25? Anyone in the audience wish to speak against ordinance 25? Next item is ordinance 26, 2023-24, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Faith Investments. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of ordinance 26? If you would, give us your name and address. You have 5 minutes.
Hi there, I'm Jamie Wallace. I'm a member of the Faith Investments. I live at 724 Salem Ridge Road. We bought the property next door to this parcel about 3 years ago with the intent to develop. And we made a promise that we would not go through with the development until the roundabout was in. And now we're finally getting to that point, and we're looking to extend the zoning to R5 to the parcel next door. The city of Clarksville, we actually donated the land. The city tried to buy it from us, but we donated it to widen it, the road there. We won't be adding any new traffic. It's a straight shot, straight to 101st. We plan to build nice units, all brick, townhomes here. It will be a improvement to the area. Right now it's an abandoned home, boarded up.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Any questions for Ms. Wallace? Seeing none, thank you very much. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor of ordinance 26? Anyone in the audience wish to speak against ordinance 26? Next item is Resolution 6, 2023-24, a resolution approving the abandonment of unimproved alleyways south of Woodard Street, east of Greenwood Avenue, and west of Gracie Avenue. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of Resolution 6? Anyone in the audience wish to speak against Resolution 6? Next item, Resolution 7, 2023-24, a resolution approving the abandonment of a portion of Wheeler Street, north of Commerce Street, south of Franklin Street, and west of South 11th Street. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of Ordinance 7? Anyone in the audience wish to speak against Ordinance 7? Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Mayor, I move we go back into regular session.
Motion been made and properly seconded to revert to regular session. Councilperson Streetman.
As a reminder, all motions upon the advice of legal counsel shall be for approval. Ordinance 22, 2023, 24, first reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Bill Ballou for zone change on property located on a parcel of land fronting on the west frontage of Needmore Road, 425 plus or minus feet north of the Needmore Road and Crestview Drive intersection from AG Agricultural District to R2 Single Family Residential District. Both the Regional Planning Commission and the staff recommended approval, and I so move.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of Ordinance 22. Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized on Ordinance 22.
Thank you, Mayor. Although the applicant indicated 2 larger lots, under the zone change, Mr. Tyndall had said that there's the possibility that he could put up to a maximum of 17 small homes there. That is of concern to me due to the existing traffic problems on Needmore Road. As we see it now, I just don't know if we can handle that much potential there. And then also the unknown lift station concerns that were brought up, that 2 homes would be fine, but then we would have to address lift station concerns from there. So based on the maximum occupancy or maximum number of homes that could be there and the traffic concerns, I'm going to vote no on this.
Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I too have the same concerns. I actually questioned the applicant regarding that because a few years ago we had the same applicant came forward and said the intention was to build 2 homes on the land with the home that was already there, and that ended up turning into about 500 homes. So the thought process is you do have to take into consideration the maximum number of homes that can go on there is 17. So I am in agreement with the previous speaker.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on Ordinance 22? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
3 yes, 10 no, 0 abstain.
Ordinance 22 fails. Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Ordinance 23, 2023, 24, first reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Michael Lee Gray for zone change on property located on a portion of a tract of land fronting on the north frontage of Pollard Road, 680 plus or minus feet west of the Pollard Road and Dominion Drive intersection from R1 Single Family Residential District to ACG Agricultural Commercial District. The Regional Planning Commission and the staff recommended disapproval. I move for approval.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of ordinance 23. Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I know many people spoke earlier. I want to say that although I completely respect what the applicant is trying to do, especially trying to do something to honor his father, I spoke a little bit about this at the Regional Planning Commission meeting. I think I spoke a little on it last week as well. My concern has to be with looking at the big picture of, in the event that something came through, took down the building, and it was no longer an event center, if it were, as I would hope wouldn't be the case, but if it was unsuccessful and something else had to operate there, would then have created a commercial zoning right in the middle of a residential area. And I understand that there's lots of acreage around it that's not being rezoned. However, that does then still leave the opportunity for the rest of that acreage could eventually be developed as R1. And again, we're putting a commercial district right in the middle of an entire residential area. So that, for me, although I understand again what he's trying to do and I respect that, I have to vote against it on that. Plus, I also have concerns, although this individual spoke to it tonight and even last week spoke to not being aware of the need to change. My concern would be setting a precedence of establishing or preparing, building a business, having everything there, and then coming after the fact and asking for approval because that business has already been created. So just for me, I have to vote no against this. But again, I fully respect the applicant and I appreciate everything he did come up here and say to us tonight.
Councilperson Marquis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. So I kind of wanted to give a little bit of a different perspective because a couple months ago, I was actually invited to attend an event here, and I was actually really surprised to find it on this agenda this month. Back May-ish, my husband and I drove down Pollard Road, turned into this driveway, and found ourselves in front of this building. And at first glance, it is a very nice building. We didn't know even existed out there. And the event had maybe 30, 40 people. There were kids running around. There was a bounce house inside the building, which obviously decreases the noise level out there. And even if you were to step outside of the building, with the people that were hanging out outside on the benches and all, you really couldn't hear much of anything going on because it was so quiet out there. Like the wood line buffers a lot of noise, and then it was very clear to everybody out there that, hey, there was a certain time limit you had to be out of. They, started cleaning up. When that time came, there was a person there also with the guests. So it wasn't like free-for-all party happening in the middle of a subdivision unattended either. And like I said, it's a very nice building out there. I really enjoyed the architecture behind it. And I don't see anything wrong with it. I think this is actually even though it's considered a commercial zoning, it is still one of the lowest zonings that we have available on the books right now. And, whenever we have residents who come up to speak against certain zonings, they don't want the zoning to increase. Well, this is actually decreasing a zone, even though it's considered, because it's ag commercial. And so I don't see anything wrong with it. Oh, and want to clarify something about the permitting. I did ask Buildings and Codes about it, and he does have a permit for the current structure. The issue is the usage of the structure. So he went through everything legally to build that building, for what he built it for at the time. The issue now becomes that he wants to do something more with it, and now he has to do the zoning for that event space. That's what the real issue comes from. But he has all his permits and all of that. So yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know, I don't see a problem. I think we should vote yes to this and allow the space to be maintained as it is. Thank you.
Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
Yeah, I would just like to tag on to the previous speaker. The resident has made it very clear that he'll make it right. He'll follow the rules. He's not using it as it was built right now, waiting to do whatever it takes to improve the property to follow the rules. So we all, I mean, heck, I've been up here 2.5 years and I still don't know all the rules. So I don't necessarily expect our citizen, and this very body of people has voted in the past. There was a driveway that encroached on city property that we then sold the city property to them because they didn't do the proper procedure to make sure that it wasn't their property. So this is not the first time that we've allowed grace for a resident to fix something that they weren't aware of. So I just ask that we allow our citizen grace to come into compliance. Thank you.
Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. After the discussion last week, I did look up in the zoning code what would be allowed under this zone change, in case, what the first speaker spoke about. And a lot of the things that were mentioned last week as possibilities are permitted with conditions, meaning that there would be a process that the property owner would have to go through to get those. And that includes the brewery and the distillery and some of the other things that were mentioned. What would be permitted is like a garden store, similar to the one on the corner of Purple Heart Parkway and Lafayette, vegetable sales and things like that. So some of the examples that were mentioned, there would have to be conditions for that to be located on that property. And I agree with a lot of the previous speakers that I think that this is a good fit. I have a friend that lives on Paula Road who, whenever she sees a zoning sign go up, she calls me right away because, of course, I've said before, we need to widen Pollard Road and try to fix that curb. But when I explained to her what was going on over there, she was okay with that because, as a lot of the other speakers mentioned, it's less traffic than a neighborhood that would be there. So I'm in favor. Thank you.
Councilperson Little, you're recognized.
Thank you. And so I'm just going to piggyback on everybody's statements about different things. I can completely understand, thinking, or the, let me start this all over, brain for it. I completely understand the thinking of putting this in the middle of R1, but the only thing that makes me think differently is because even though it is a residential area, it's a complete 30 acres owned by one person. So it's not as though this is individuals living in this area. It's one person, and he's putting it in the middle of his land. So that's why I don't necessarily put too much into it being an R1 and being out of character, because it's their land. Which, putting that there would also probably make people not want to build a subdivision around there, which also lessens the traffic. Not only that, the biggest thing, especially when we come up here and have zoning such as this, there was no resident concerns or complaints. I didn't receive not one. Nobody came up here and stated that they were against it. And I drove through it, and the closest neighbor was in favor of it. So I'm in favor of it also.
Anyone else wish to be recognized on ordinance 23? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
12 yes, 1 no, 0 abstain.
Ordinance 23 is adopted. Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 24, 2023, 24, first reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of WPN LLC, Teresa Winnington, agent for zone change on property located on a parcel located west of the Beach Street and Mitchell Street intersection from R3, 3-family residential district to R4, multiple family residential district. Both the Regional Planning Commission and the staff recommended approval, and I so move.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of ordinance 24. Any member wish to be recognized on ordinance 24? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? Every member, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
13 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
Ordinance 24 is adopted. First reading, Councilperson Streetman.
Ordinance 25, 2023, 24, first reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Maxie K. West and Nicole K. West, Rosemary Calise, Esquire agent for zone change on property located on a tract of land located at the northwest corner of the western intersection of Airport Road and Tandy Drive from R3 3-family residential district to R4 multiple family residential district. Both the Regional Planning Commission and the staff recommended approval, and I so move.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of ordinance 25. Any comment or question from council regarding ordinance 25? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
13 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
Ordinance 25 is adopted. First reading, Councilperson Streetman.
Ordinance 26, 2023, 24, first reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Faith Investments for zone change, 2 parcels fronting on the east frontage of North Whitfield Road, 675 plus or minus feet north of the Whitfield Road and Needmore Road intersection from R4 multiple family residential district at AG Agriculture District to R5 residential district. Both the Regional Planning Commission and the staff recommended approval, and I so move.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of ordinance 26. Councilperson Reynolds, you recognized for a question on ordinance 26.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a statement that normally I would vote against any building on Needmore, but this road does go straight out to 101st. Also, they already have zoning for part of this as R4 apartments. Changing it to R5 will allow for will require more green space in the community that they build, as well as I think it kind of decreases. I think you can get less R5 than R4. So I will be voting yes for this.
Okay, any other member wish to be recognized on ordinance 26? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
13 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
Ordinance 26 passes. First reading, Councilperson Streetman.
Resolution 06, 2023, 24, a resolution approving the abandonment of unimproved alleyway south of Woodard Street, east of Greenwood Avenue, and west of Gracie Avenue. Both the Regional Planning Commission and the staff recommended approval, and I so move.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of Resolution 6. Councilperson Redd, you're recognized.
I will have to abstain because I guess this borders a property I have on Central Avenue. I got a letter in the mail.
Okay. All right, anyone else wish to be recognized on ordinance 6? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
12 yes, 0 no, 1 abstain.
Resolution 6 is adopted. Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Resolution 07, 2023, 24, a resolution approving the abandonment of a portion of Wheeler Street north of Commerce Street, south of Franklin Street, and west of South 11th Street. Both the Regional Planning Commission and the staff recommended approval, and I so move.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of Resolution 7. Any comment or question regarding Resolution 7? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
13 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
Resolution 7 is adopted. Councilperson Streetman.
Just like to add one more bit of information regarding the Regional Planning Commission meetings. I do believe that as of later this month, the Regional Planning Commissions will be now available for live streaming or later viewing on their YouTube channel that they'll have. They did a testing of it this last meeting that we had, and so the plan is to go live with that later this month. So everybody, both here at the council as well as those at home, will be able to watch it either live or at your leisure.
Thank you. We're now ready for the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, please read the consent agenda.
All items in this portion of the agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and may be approved by one motion.
However, a member of the council may request that an item be removed for separate consideration under the appropriate committee report. Ordinance 147, 2022-23, second reading. An ordinance amending the city zoning ordinance of the city of Clarksville as it pertains to the R3 and R2D zoning classification. Ordinance 1, 2023-24, second reading. An ordinance authorizing the city to purchase a portion of property owned by Hilldale Baptist Church located near Madison Street to the city of Clarksville for the purpose of constructing, improving, operating, and maintaining a city fire station and for ingress and egress from same. Ordinance 2, 2023-24, second reading. An ordinance amending the operating budgets for fiscal year 2024 for governmental funds to appropriate and provide budget authority for the COVID Special Revenue Fund. Ordinance 3, 2023-24, second reading. Amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Bill Ballou for zone change on property located on a parcel of land fronting on the west frontage of Allen Road, 925 plus or minus feet north of the Tiny Town Road and Allen Road intersection from AG Agricultural District to R2A Single Family Residential District. Ordinance 4, 2023-24, second reading. Amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Eddie Burgett for zone change on tract of land fronting on the south frontage of Rossview Road, south of the Rossview Road and Rollo Lane intersection, from AG Agricultural District to R5 Residential District. Ordinance 5, 2023-24, second reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Reach Holdings LLC for zone change on property located on a portion of a tract of land fronting on the north frontage of Wilson Road, 760 plus or minus feet east of the Wilson Road and Chase Drive intersection, from R5 Residential District to R4 Multiple Family Residential District and C2 General Commercial District. Ordinance 6, 2023-24, second reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Reach Holdings LLC for zone change on a portion of a tract of land fronting on the south frontage of Wilson Road, 290 plus or minus feet east of the Wilson Road and Chase Drive intersection, from R5 Residential District to C2 General Commercial District. Resolution 5, 2023-24, a resolution approving appointments to the Airport Liaison Board, Common Design Review Board, Designations Board, Economic and Community Development Board, Housing Authority Board, and Rail Service Authority, and the adoption of minutes from August 3rd and August 10th.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll entertain a motion and a second on the consent agenda. Motion been made and properly seconded on the consent agenda. Any member wish to be recognized on the consent agenda? Councilperson Smith on
Yes,
the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to pull ordinance 147, 2022-23.
Okay, thank you. Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
Yes, I would like to register a no vote for items D and E, ordinance 3, 2023-24, and ordinance 4, 2023-24.
Okay, Councilperson McLaughlin.
I need to abstain on resolution 5 as my name is one of the ones listed as a appointment.
Okay, Councilperson Shekinah, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to register a no vote on item E, ordinance 04, 2023-24.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to be recognized on the consent agenda? The item that's pulled, we'll take that right after the adoption of the consent agenda. We're now voting on the consent agenda. Every member, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
13 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
Consent agenda is adopted. We'll now take up item A on the consent agenda that was pulled by Councilperson Smith, ordinance 147, 2022-23, an ordinance amending the city zoning ordinance of the city of Clarksville, Tennessee as it pertains to R3 and R2D zoning classification. Councilperson Smith, you're recognized.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I will first make a motion to get this on the floor.
Motion been made and properly seconded on ordinance 147. You're recognized on your amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. The reason this amendment has been brought back is because I had explained this about a month ago. Some of you understood it and some of you didn't, and thank you to those who voted for it because they understood it. However, as I said, and I will say this again, that the EHI consultants prepared and submitted to the City Council the Red River Neighborhood Plan of 2022, specifically for the Red River neighborhood, which was adopted by the council and the Planning Commission on May the 4th of 2023. However, the revised R3 zone was changed for the entire city, and that's not what was required by the neighborhood plan. And so it was not specifically made for the Red River neighborhood. And so to comply with the RNP, this amendment will bring the R3 zone into compliance. Now, I have met with Mr. Tyndall and Attorney Lance Baker, and this ordinance, this amendment has been modified and similar revised, and it reads as thus: under section 5.1.7, residential use permitted with conditions, add number 7. Under the 2-family and 3-family, R3 and R4. Two-family duplexes and 3-family triplexes are not permitted in the Red River neighborhood area from Ford Street and Red River Street, north of St. John Street and Sampson Street, then to North Craft Street, which is based on the future land use map specified in the Red River neighborhood plan. And so I'm going to ask Mr. Lance Baker to come up and explain to you all more about this and why it was brought back and why we need to look at this again.
Let's get this properly before us. I'll entertain your
Entertain a
motion.
motion.
Motion and properly seconded. Mr. Baker?
All right, so I want to start from the beginning. You have ordinance 147 before you that makes a number of changes to the existing zoning code as codified, and those changes already went through the state law required process of being considered by the Regional Planning Commission, and then they take a vote and whether to recommend approval or not. The staff, as you know, also makes a recommendation regarding approval or not. And anytime then, and that the state law requires that any amendment to a municipality zoning code has to be, whether it's a text amendment or a map amendment, has to be go through the consideration process at the Regional Planning Commission level. And Ordinance 147 has gone through that process, and it's before you. And you've already voted on it once, and now it's back again before you tonight on second reading. What Councilmember Smith wants to do, of course, is to amend the Ordinance 147 that itself amends the existing codified zoning code. The reason why, as she's already adequately explained, but she's asked me to maybe go a little more depth, is because this council has previously passed and approved by, I believe it was resolution, wasn't it? Yeah, resolution, the Red River Neighborhood Plan. You will remember that we had hired a consultant. He came in and he actually developed a very detailed, exact plan. And in that plan, it contained recommendations and prescribed zoning for the neighborhood in the Red River area. And you passed that. Resolutions carry the weight, force, and effect of law, just like an ordinance. And so that resolution is law. And so what the Ordinance 147 does is the language used purports to allow our 2 and 3 family and R3 and R4 zoning in the Red River area in particular areas, and that is contrary to the plan that you've previously adopted. So you really cannot adopt the Ordinance 147 as as it's worded currently, be, because then you will be passing something that already conflicts with a previous piece of legislation that you passed. And there will be a conflict. So you've either got to amend ordinance 147 to remove that conflict, which is exactly what CC member Smith's proposed amendment to ordinance 147 does, or you would have to undo the previous resolution, either completely undo it or go back and try to amend that. Obviously, that's not on the agenda, so you can't do that tonight. So what you can't do is pass ordinance 147 without trying to resolve this. And you could postpone it if you wanted to go the other way. But what Councilmember Smith wants to do is to amend it so that it's clear that you cannot have 2-family and 3-family duplexes and triplexes in the specified area of the Red River District that conflicts with the Red River Neighborhood Plan. There's one other little kink I need to tell you about it. Because of that state law that I talked about earlier that says any proposed material substantive change to the zoning code, whether text amendment or map amendment, it has to always be considered first by the Regional Planning Commission. It's my view and opinion, and Mr. Tyndall's opinion, that her amendment does in fact change in a significant material way ordinance 147. In fact, that is the whole reason why she's bringing it, because she doesn't like the way ordinance 147 is worded. She wants to change that. But what that means is if her amendment, which is what you've got right in front of you right now, if her amendment passes, then to be legal, what needs to happen is someone would need to make a motion to refer this ordinance 147 as amended by Councilmember Smith amendment back to the Regional Planning Commission so that they consider ordinance 147 as amended by her amendment. And then that will check the box of what the state law requires. And then once they make a recommendation, and they might recommend approval, they might recommend disapproval, either way, it's going to come back to you as amended by Councilmember Smith's amendment. However, if Councilmember Smith's amendment is voted down here in just a few moments, then you may proceed on to vote on the main motion, which is ordinance 147. Does that, everybody get it?
That's clear. Okay, Councilperson Smith, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Baker. As we said that when Mr. Tyndall revised the proposed R3 zone, he changed it for the entire city. And that is not what the plan was for. The Red River Neighborhood Plan was for specifically and explicitly for the Red River neighborhood. And you all have this map that I gave you last month. That small section in the yellow, you have that. That's what this addition is for, number 7, to add. Mr. Tyndall revised this along with Mr. Baker so that we can comply. We have to comply with the law. That's the resolution that we voted on when EHI, the consultants, prepared. We paid them to do that. And so we have to comply with the law, or we're out of law. Or we also, let us not forget that when Mr. What was his name? The guy that owns land over on Poston Street, well, it's on Carpenter Street, he came in and he said he was going to build 3 single-family homes. And I remember hearing one of the council members say, we want to thank you for abiding by the rules of the Red River Neighborhood Plan. And so if the citizen is abiding by the Red River Neighborhood Plan, then we too must abide by the law, or else we're breaking the law. It's just common sense. And so that's why this amendment is here, to make sure that the Red River Neighborhood Plan aligns with what we have already voted on, the resolution, as Mr. Lance said, that it's already law. So how can we go against what we have already voted against? I don't understand. So anyway, if we have to, if the citizens and the home builders have to abide by the law, then we too have to abide by the law. Thank you.
Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with Mr. Baker here in regard to, yes, we passed a resolution accepting the plan, but by accepting that plan, that in no way changed any of our zoning. In order to make changes to zoning, it actually has to be, by ordinance, just as we're going through this process. Otherwise, any zonings that we would have approved prior to now, after accepting the resolution, would then, I think you would have to say those are illegal. That was just saying that, yes, we do accept the plan, and we would use that to try and craft other craft zoning, especially for that area. I'm not in agreement with us making this change. I wish Mr. Tyndall was here, or I wish this would have been discussed last week when he was here, so that he could have addressed it, because he would also respectfully disagree that we're not doing anything illegal by passing this ordinance as it has already been amended when it was sent back once, and as it is before us today on this second reading. So I would ask that we move forward on this as it stands today, so that we're not going through the process of, again, sending it back to the Regional Planning Commission, it having to go through another month or two process, then come back here again for another month or two reading. We're just continuing to delay, and that's leaving people unsure of what they're going to be able to do with property that they own there. And this change already makes it more difficult for an R3 or a triplex or a duplex to be built there. It doesn't completely stop it from being built there, but the changes that are made it hampers it more. In fact, one of the builders even came up and spoke against it at the Regional Planning Commission for that exact reason. But I don't think we want to completely limit what is able to happen there, especially in a time when we're talking about how much we need more affordable housing. And when you're looking at a duplex or a triplex, that does make it a little bit more affordable than a single family home that could be rented would be. But I do think these are good changes that were made. I think the Regional Planning Commission staff took the Red River Plan into consideration, and I would ask that we leave it as it stands today. And that would be it. Thank you.
Councilperson Markey on the amendment.
Yes, Mayor. So I think that I also would respectfully disagree, because I believe we're missing information here. I have the map pulled up from the consultants, and based on their color coordination, they recommend that the outskirts of the Red River District be high density and residential, mixed use, and commercial. The very center of the Red River District is what they recommend being single family. And since they recommend high density within the boundaries, but on the outskirts, if somebody was to build a triplex or a duplex, it was not against the law, because it is part of their recommendations, even if we do go with that. But also, with the changes that we put or agreed to on the last vote for R3, it makes R3 a single family by right. So if somebody is going for R3, they are applying for single family. Now, they do have the ability to make a duplex or a triplex, but they have to specify, and the Regional Planning Commission has to give them that exception to do those types of housing. So if we're talking about the Red River District, depending on the location, they would either be denied or approved to build a housing of that sort. Which is why, again, it would still fall into compliance with the previous resolution that we have passed. Therefore, I think that this is kind of redundant in that aspect, since if we want single family, it is by right, and they have to go through extra steps. And if it doesn't fall in with the consultant's plan, then I would imagine they will be denied anyways. So I don't think that this is a necessary amendment, is all I gotta say. Thank you.
Councilperson Zacharias on the amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Baker, is it okay if I?
Sure, Mr. Baker.
Thank you. So I'm reading from the the handout that we were provided, and it quotes page 21, and it says, providing single-family exclusive zone is recommended in the neighborhood to provide context-sensitive development standards by creating a new zone or modifying an existing zone based on research. Is there anything that ties this amendment that we're considering, this main motion, this ordinance that we're considering to that specific portion in the consultant's plan? Could we not see an ordinance coming from the Regional Planning Commission creating a new zone or an overlay for Red River District that would still accomplish this?
Yes, the point made by Councilmember Marquis and Councilmember Streetman is a point well taken, that zoning is not the same thing as the resolution adopting a neighborhood plan. All right, they're different things. The point that Councilmember Smith's making, and she can speak for herself, but I'll say this about it, is that if you adopt a plan, a consultant's plan, and the plan calls for certain types of zoning, and then later on you enact a zoning ordinance that conflicts with what the plan you have adopted, then it's not consistent. It doesn't necessarily mean that that it's like illegal, that the ordinance is illegal, but it's not consistent in that you have a plan that you've already adopted, and now you're, without amending that plan, now you're passing something that's not consistent with it. So that's more of a gloss on it, and that's probably how I should have put it earlier. I'm not sure if that really answers your question, though.
Not exactly. So
What are you asking there?
So the plan that we adopted makes a recommendation for either modifying an existing zone or creating a new zone entirely.
Yeah.
Could that new zone then be, would that fulfill the recommendation? I guess my question is, why is this ordinance 147 being considered as the answer to that recommendation when there are other options presented to the city for addressing that recommendation?
I'm not sure
okay.
I'm tracking. I'm sorry. 147 makes, and this is what my understanding of it is. If I'm incorrect, I'm incorrect. It makes lots of changes throughout the zoning code in a general sense. It doesn't make changes to just one specific area.
But it
Am
makes
I wrong
those,
in that?
no,
Okay.
but I'm sorry I interrupted you, but
No, go ahead.
But those zone changes are being adopted for the greater good of the city of Clarksville, not
Correct.
specifically to bring us into compliance with the Red River.
That is correct.
Okay.
It's the recommendation of the Regional Planning Commission and the Planning Commission staff that ordinance 147, which makes changes throughout the zoning code, that these are needed changes. Some of them are like house cleaning, some of them are more substantive, but it's for the betterment of the whole city. What her legislation, Councilmember Smith's legislation, is, it speaks for itself, but she wants to exclude the ability of a developer to do triplexes and duplexes within a very specific area of the city, because the rationale for that is because you've already adopted a neighborhood plan that says you shouldn't do that.
Okay.
At least that's what I believe. I didn't go back and read the plan or the report from the consultant, but that's what she has told me that it says. So that's what she wants to do, and she's entitled to do that.
All right, thank you. So I guess I will just close by saying I don't disagree with the attempt or the work towards restricting certain types of development in the Red River area. I just don't know that this is the best way to do it. I think if we start carving out exceptions for specific neighborhoods in each of the different zoning classifications, we are going to create, and coders call it spaghetti code, where you have to look like 17 different places to figure out if what you're doing is all right. To me, what seems like it makes the most sense is some sort of a design overlay or, you know, a specific Red River neighborhood zone that would just kind of keep everything nice and tidy. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. The fact that Mr. Tyndall isn't here to help us straighten out the planning side of things is making me more confused, because last month he explained that the amendment that's being brought before us again wasn't proper and shouldn't affect the change to the zoning code. So because he's not here, I make a motion that we postpone for till the next regular session. Okay, thank you. That concludes my report.
We're voting on the amendment. We can't postpone.
Okay,
Oh.
Mr. Baker,
Can't postpone amendments.
we got to act on amendment. Nice try.
I would recommend that we vote this amendment down, and then we will make a motion to postpone the main motion until the next meeting so that we can get Mr. Baker and Mr. Tyndall in the same room and we can ask some questions to the professionals.
Okay. All right, Councilperson Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to answer some of the questions that has been mentioned and some concerns from the council persons. First, one said that they totally disagree with this, and they didn't want to delay the plan. The plan has already been voted on. 147, ordinance 147, talks about R3. It was, as Mr. Tyndall said when he was here, he did a R3 complete change for the whole city because he said it was the easiest thing to do. Yet, in this Red River Neighborhood Plan, it specifies that, and I will read it. Our recommendation for providing single-family exclusive zones in the neighborhood is to provide context-sensitive development standards by creating a new zone, which he did not create a new zone. He said he just revised the R3 that we already had in that neighborhood. And so, or modify an existing zone, and that's what he did. He modified it, but it was for the entire city and not for the Red River neighborhood. And so I think we shouldn't have modified the whole R3 to affect the whole entire city for R3s. I think it should have just been for the particular area in which we voted on. And so this amendment, all it does is to put the R3 that he presented to us in compliance. It aligns with the Red River Neighborhood Plan. And then I heard someone say that a guy spoke against this plan. No, he did not. You misheard him. He spoke that, he said he was against that they were not able to rebuild a duplex if it burnt down. That's what he was talking about. It was not against this plan. He said it specifically, and I'll say it again. He said, we're not able. I'm not pleased with what you have put here because we had an old year on there. He said, because we're not able to rebuild a duplex if we have a duplex already there. That's what the man was talking about. He said nothing about this plan. He was just saying that they were not going to be able to rebuild a duplex or a triplex. Also, someone mentioned that, and she was partially right, that we're to build on the outer edges of this neighborhood if we want to have high density to build duplexes and triplexes. And she was right. On the outer edges, she got that right. I'm proposing here that we align ourselves or line this plan up with the correct context. And to make that happen, that's why this amendment is here, to not put duplexes, because it said do not put duplexes or triplexes in the area. And it says here in this plan. And y'all got a copy of the Red River Neighborhood Plan. You cannot change the land use map. It shows here. And so it reads as thus, and I'm going to say this, creating an overlay district that focuses on affordability, housing choice, home ownership. Based on research, the best model for this district would be one which prioritizes single-family, detached homes developed within a standard lot size, width, and setbacks. And I don't have to read the whole thing, but that's what it says. And I heard one of the, about a month ago, one of the council persons said, you know, I'm going to vote for I think it was Miss Collier, or Miss Collins, I think I was saying, because she don't want any duplexes or triplexes in her neighborhood. She said, I'm going to support, this is something different. This was about we voted for it because the lady came in, she had a cast or something on her leg, and I told her I was going to support her. And one of the council persons spoke up and said, you know, I'm going to vote with her because she don't want any duplexes or triplexes in that neighborhood. And so what I'm saying here, why would we vote for that area and not vote to support something that's just to comply with the Red River Neighborhood Plan? So I'm asking you all to vote for this. We can't postpone the amendment, but I'm asking you all to vote for this to go ahead and get this to line up with the Red River Neighborhood Plan, which is y'all have a thick packet that he gave out about this plan. Yeah, and it speaks of that. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized on the amendment.
On the amendment, well, I have a couple concerns. So I'm looking at the plan, and it does have, but the plan is R4 on the outside of Red River. So, and this amendment does not undo the R4. So, but I do the R2, the R3, the new zoning created a lot size that was between R6 and R2A. That was kind of the intent to move away just from R6. And so we didn't put too many homes in there. And I just want to make sure that we're not undoing that option. That's my concern with, because that was important when I listened to them. But if we pass this, then it does go back to the Planning Commission, correct? If
That's
we pass
correct.
the amendment. And they have another review, and that gives us time to ask questions. Okay. That's all I have.
Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for, properly seconded. Any objection to the question? Hearing none, we are voting on the amendment. We're voting on the amendment. All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
5 yes, 8 no, 0 abstain.
Amendment fails. We're back on ordinance 147 as proposed. Councilperson Allen, you're first on the list. Did you wish to speak to the ordinance 147?
I have a point of information.
All right.
I mean, like I have a question. So voting this amendment down right now, it can come back if we postpone it today, right? Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Make a motion to postpone until the next regular session.
Second.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of postponing ordinance 147 to the October 2023 regular session. Any question or comment regarding that motion to postpone? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote on the motion to postpone? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
13 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
The motion to postpone passes. We're now ready for the Finance Committee report. Chairperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we take up items A through G as one motion. That would be 7 items.
Motion been made and properly seconded to take up A
Wait.
through G as one item, one motion. Any objection to that? Hearing none, so moved. Councilperson Streetman.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 13, 20, 23, 24, first reading, accepting the donation of certain real property from BJ Properties to the city of Clarksville for the purpose of sewer pump station. Ordinance 14, 20, 23, 24, first reading, accepting the donation of certain real property from Bill Ballou to the city of Clarksville for the purpose of sewer pump station. Ordinance 15, 20, 23, 24, accepting the donation of certain real property from Copper Ridge Apartments LLC to the city of Clarksville for the purpose of sewer pump station. Ordinance 16, 20, 23, 24, first reading, accepting the donation of certain real property from Christopher Blackwell to the city of Clarksville for the purpose of sewer pump station. Ordinance 17, 20, 23, 24, first reading, accepting the donation of certain real property from James Durrett to the city of Clarksville for the purpose of sewer pump station. Ordinance 18, 20, 23, 24, first reading, accepting the donation of certain real property from Edward Burchett to the city of Clarksville for the purpose of sewer pump station. Ordinance 19, 20, 23, 24, first reading, accepting the donation of certain real property from Jeff Burkhart Custom Properties to the city of Clarksville for the purpose of sewer pump station. Both the Finance and Gas and Water Committees voted in favor of approval, and I so move.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of ordinances 13 through 19. Any comment or question regarding those ordinances? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? We're voting on all those ordinances. Every member, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
13 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
Those ordinances are adopted. First reading. Chairperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 20, 23, 24, first reading, amending Part 2 Code of Ordinances, Title 13, Utilities and Service, Chapter 3, Gas, Water, and Sewer Service, the City of Clarksville, relative to deposit charges, assessment areas, adjustments, and installment plans. I do have an amendment to further amend this amendment, but first, I haven't made a motion yet, but thank you. First, I need to get this on the floor with a motion. Finance and Gas and Water Committees recommend approval, and I so move.
Motion been made and properly seconded. Councilperson Streetman.
I had to read it first. Thank you. I have an amendment, as you all see before you, to amend the ordinance 2023-24. Mayor Pitts, if it's okay with you, could we go out of a session, and would you mind asking Mr. Mark Riggins to come up and discuss this, please?
Without objection, we're now out of session. Mr. Riggins, if you would, please come forward and explain this amendment and the purpose.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor, council members. As Council Lady Streetman said at your station, you have a copy of our proposed amendment. Basically, I'm asking you to remove the credit/debit card fees from the proposed legislation. The reason for that being, upon researching the answers to your questions from the last meeting, as of 1 o'clock this afternoon, I found myself with multiple versions of percentages and minimum fees supplied to us from our vendor, other relative utilities throughout the state with various versions of these fees, both fees, percentages, minimums, without minimums. And then also, as provided from one of the council ladies, we have an attorney general's opinion from 2001, which may prove that the proposed version is not a viable option. So with all of that, I'm not comfortable moving forward with these transaction fees at this time. So again, I respectfully ask you to remove these fees and allow me to go back and further research this subject, receive guidance from the Water and Wastewater Finance Board and the State Comptroller's Office. In return, when I'm confident that I can ensure, of course, fairness and equity to our customers, as well as compliance with all the rules and regulations associated with the fees.
Thank you, Mr. Riggins. Chairperson Streetman, you're recognized. You
Mayor,
still have the floor.
I make a motion that we accept the amendment as recommended by Mr. Riggins to remove the credit debit card transaction fee from the Schedule A that is included as part of the amendment to ordinance 2023-24.
Second.
Motion been made on the Streetman Amendment 1, properly seconded. Any comment or question regarding this amendment? Seeing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote on the amendment. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
13 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
The amendment is adopted. Chairperson Streetman.
That's all.
We're back on the, I'm sorry, we're back on the ordinance as amended. Any comment or question regarding this ordinance? Councilperson Redd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I did have one question, for the director while he was here, but I can just throw it out to anyone that maybe that knows on the gas fee of $50. Is that the minimum fee that you have to pay whether you use gas or not? Is that?
We will go out of
Is it just
session
for having the
briefly.
gas, even if
Mr.
you don't-
Regan's.
If you're not using it for that month, like
It's on the
in the
amendment.
middle of the summer like this, if you decide.
Are you speaking about Schedule A
Yes.
gas? That is the new service fee. That is to turn on gas. It has nothing to do with your monthly bill. That's an
Okay.
initial turn on. It's $50 for gas and
That's it.
$50 for water.
Okay.
And there's no proposed change on that at this time.
All righty, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment or question regarding the ordinance as amended? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote on ordinance 20 as amended? Every member, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
13 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
Ordinance 20 is adopted. First reading. Chairperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Ordinance 21, 2023, 24, first reading, an ordinance accepting the donation of certain real property from Edward C. Burchett to the city of Clarksville for the public use of CSM retired Sidney R. Brown Park at Birchwood. The Finance Committee recommended approval, and I so move.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of ordinance 21. Any comment or question regarding ordinance 21? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
13 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
Ordinance 21 is adopted. First reading. Chairperson Streetman.
Resolution 01, 2023, 24, a resolution authorizing a request from Neighborhood and Community Services to amend its fiscal year FY 2019, 2020, 2021, 22, and 2022, 2023 Community Development Block Grant CDBG Annual Action Plans 2015 through 2020 and 2020 through 2024 consolidated plans by undertaking the following activities. Both the Finance and Neighborhood and Community Services Committees voted in favor of approval, and I so move.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of resolution 1. Any comment or question? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
12 yes, 0 no, 1 abstain.
Resolution 1 is adopted. Chairperson Streetman.
Resolution 02, 2023, 24, a resolution declaring the intent of the city of Clarksville, Tennessee to reimburse itself in a not-to-exceed amount of $78,269,048 for certain project expenditures with the proceeds of general obligation bonds, notes, or other debt obligations to be issued by the city. The Finance Committee recommended approval, and I so move.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of resolution 2. Any comment or question? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
13 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
Resolution 2 is adopted. Chairperson Streetman.
Resolution 03, 2023, 24, a resolution authorizing an interlocal agreement between the City of Clarksville and Montgomery County pertaining to the division of 2023 Burn Justice Assistance Grant Fund allocations and the administration and use of such funds. The Finance Committee voted in favor of approval, and I so move.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of resolution 3. Any comment or question regarding resolution 3? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
13 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
Resolution 3 is adopted. Chairperson Streetman.
That concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you. We're now ready for Neighborhood and Community Services Committee report. That will be Chairperson Shekinah. You're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. For the community and neighborhood services, we have 3 homes that are being repaired under the emergency rehab program. One of those homes is located in the Red River area, and the other 2, one would be in the Northeast High School area, and the other one off of Lafayette. Under the tenant-based rental agreements, about a month ago, we had 2 filled out of 21. Today, we have 14 out of 21. So we've made some progress in that area. And then on the 15th of September, next week at 9:30, the Beach Street River Cutting. That's going to be a new pocket park. That's in conjunction with Parks and Recreation. We have our monthly Community and Neighborhood Services Committee meeting on Monday, the 11th of September at 4:30 in the conference room, if anyone wants to attend. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Any comment or question regarding this committee report? Seeing none, hearing none, we're now ready for the Parks and Recreation Committee. Chairperson Zacharias, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. The Parks and Recreation Committee met on August 8th. A Public Arts Commission collaboration was discussed along with updates on current projects and recreation activities. Swan Lake Golf Course usage continues to be up for the 6th consecutive month. The headliners have been announced for the final Riverfest. Prepare for an unforgettable evening of country music as headliners Little Texas and Tyler Rich with special guest Ryan Griffin take the stage at Riverfest on Saturday, September 9th at McGregor Park. Clarksville's own Haven Madison takes the stage as the final headliner for Riverfest. Her performance is scheduled for September 10th on the public stage at 5 p.m. Fort Defiance will host its annual event, Severe Day, on September 16th. This event will focus on the frontier and colonial history of Clarksville. Native American and frontier reenactors will demonstrate flint knapping, an authentic blacksmith operation, frontier camp life, and flintlock musket firing. And then finally, join the Halloween fun and become a part of Fright on Franklin on October 28th. Secure your spot for a free treat booth at this spooktacular event. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Registration closes on Monday, October 9th, and I have heard that you may even find a group of city council members at a booth in costume, although seriously, what is scarier than a bunch of city council members hanging out when they don't have to be? That concludes my report.
Okay. Any comment or question regarding this committee? Hearing none, we're now ready for the Public Safety Committee report. Chairperson Redd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Clarksville Police Department comparison from January 1st to July 25th, 2022, and the same time till 2023. The crime is down in every category except one in the city of Clarksville, so that's good news. The only category is vehicle theft that is up. And the chief wants to let everybody know and to remind everybody, Riverfest this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, to be aware of the lane closures and the pedestrian traffic that will be going both ways. Clarksville Fire Department, the fire suppression unit handled 1,589 calls. 70.93% were for rescue and medical. The Fire Administration Division had 22 community events and 5 safety updates. The chief wants to invite everybody. Oh, but first we had 14 recruits that is wrapping up their 8 weeks of training. The public, the chief wants to let you know, is invited to join us Monday at 8:50 at Fire Station 1 for the 9/11 ceremony. So if you get a chance, please make it there. Building and codes, you had citizen complaints of 340, self-initiated complaints 13 for a total of 353. Yard sales permits, you know, everybody this time of year is going to get cooler and everybody's going to have a yard sale. So kind of let people know they technically are supposed to get a permit, and we only had 13 permits for yard sales. And of course the hen permits, I only had 2 for the hen permit. So if you know somebody's getting chicken, let them know they're supposed to get a permit there. And that completes my report.
Okay, thank you. Any comment or question regarding that committee report? We're now ready for Transportation, Streets, and Garage Committee. Chairperson Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. The TSG reports for August of 2023 are as follows. CTS transported 50,511 passengers for the month of August. 46,390 riders on fixed routes were 8,224 senior riders. 4,121 riders on demand response paratransit, and that was the highest total ever, they said, 4,121. CTS transported 620 persons for the Women's Expo of August 19th, on August the 19th.
Oh, woo. Congratulations. That was a big accomplishment. Also, CTS will transport for the River Fest that will be held on September the 9th and 10th. CTS retirement for September are Miss Terry Davis. Retirements for September are Miss Terry Davis and Mr. James Lott. Please remember to use the CTS Spot app to find out where our buses are anytime. And I would like to say congratulations to a new administrative assistant, Miss Rochelle Finley, who has become a part of the city's staff. Now we will have the street department. The work orders for the month of August was 236. Streets paved in August were Lilybell Lane, Jewel Drive, Julie Drive, Shelton Circle, and Chestnut Ridge. Streets that are planned to be paved in September are 15 of them. Noosh Bomber Road, Bel Air Boulevard, Brandywine Drive, Delaware Drive, Gettysburg Street, Howard Street, Meadowbrook Drive, Pine Mountain Road, Quinn Lane, Richmond Drive, Stone Mountain Road, Barge Point Road, Beach Drive, Beechwood Drive, and Central Avenue. Also, on September the 28th, bids will be open for intersection improvement. And those intersections will allow for turning lanes to be implemented. Those intersections are Dunlop Lane and Ted Crozier Boulevard, Tiny Town Road and Allen Road, Fire Station Road, and that's State Route 76 to Trout Springs Road. As of today, a temporary traffic signal is in operation, and the temporary traffic signal is due to the widening of the boulevard. And it's also to relieve existing traffic congestion, and that's on Martin Luther King Boulevard and Memorial Drive. The next report is for the city garage. There were, for the month of August, 420 work orders. Also, the total for gas and diesel costs that was on site for the month of August was $163,967.68. That's the total for both unleaded and diesel, and that was for gas and diesel fuel for August. Also, the fuel costs for unleaded increased. The amount was $3.22 per gallon, and the increase was 4.5% from $3.08. That was in July of 2023. Fuel costs for diesel was $3.28 per gallon, and that was an increase as well of 4.1%. It was $3.15 in July. The city garage vehicle repairs total $225.23. This concludes my reports, Mayor.
Thank you. Any comment or question regarding this report? Councilperson Streetman on this committee report?
Yes, sir.
You're recognized.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the chair for recognizing the new light today at Memorial Extension and Martin Luther King Parkway. And I also want to say thank you to the street department for their work on it, but also to the council, because this was part of the Transportation 2020 Plus plan. And I appreciate that we were able to make this happen. I think this is going to be very beneficial for that area. I travel through there often, as it is located in Ward 10, and I think it's going to make it not only a lot better for traffic to be able to move through there, but also a lot safer. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. We're now ready for the Gas and Water Committee report. Chairperson Holloman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, for Gas and Water Committee, saving the best for last. As most have probably noticed, the easternmost entrance to Gas and Water is currently blocked off as part of the overall TDOT project at the Madison Street and Highway 76 intersection. According to the contractor, the newly constructed roadway, including new access points for gas and water, is expected to be complete and open by the end of October. The infrastructure associated with the new Meadowbrook Equalization wastewater storage tank project, which is located behind Aldi's on Fort Campbell Boulevard, is currently in use. All that is remaining is completion of punch list items, document submittals, and final payment reconciliation. This $5 million project is one of 8 projects associated with the consent agreement between Clarksville Gas and Water and TDEC, all of which involve tremendous infrastructure improvements within our sewer system. In 2022, Gas and Water reported 27 overflows, totaling 4.3 million gallons lost at this location. Current records through Gas and Water's robust GIS program are already showing an outstanding improvement, as no overflows have occurred within the last 6 months. That's really good. A sanitary survey of the Water Division of Gas and Water was recently performed by TDEC. The sanitary survey consisted of records review to document the operational performance of the entire system and on-site inspections of the water treatment plant and the distribution system. I'm extremely happy to announce that in the notification received from TDEC officials earlier today, Clarksville Gas and Water earned 599 points out of a possible 599 points for an award score of 100%. That's great. That's Mr. Riggins right there. Thank you, Mr. Riggins. Let's see, lost my place. TDEC found no deficiencies or violations within the water system. The score is the 5th 100% earned by Clarksville Gas and Water within the last 8 sanitary surveys, none of which have fallen below 98%. That's great. Points can be deducted for even the most minor offenses, such as the number of samples collected, sampling outside of certain date, deadline criteria, policy and plan review, etc. The score of 100% is one example of the level of knowledge, capabilities, and ongoing dedication of the employees working to serve the customers of Gas and Water. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comment or question regarding this outstanding report? Seeing none, we're now ready for new business. Resolution 4, 2023-24, resolution adopting the City of Clarksville's legislative agenda for consideration by the 114th Tennessee General Assembly. Chairperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 04, 2023-24, a resolution adopting the City of Clarksville's legislative agenda for consideration by the 114th Tennessee General Assembly. Make a motion for approval.
Motion been made and properly seconded. Chairperson Streetman.
Thank you, sir. First, you could verify this for me, especially being a former representative. I think we just made a small Scrivener's error. I think it's the 113th. Is that correct?
It is. I'm a recovering member of the House.
Former recovering. Could we just have that as a Scrivener's error without
We'll
needing-
consider that a Scrivener's error and correct
Okay.
that 113th Tennessee General Assembly.
As was stated last week, the committee met for several weeks on a weekly basis to discuss various different topics in detail, to then vote on it at our final meeting to make a decision what was going to be included on this agenda and these requests to our state representatives, with the thought process being that these are things that we need for our community here in Clarksville and things we would like them to work on at their next session to try and get done for us as of a benefit here in Clarksville, especially with a direct benefit to us here in Clarksville. So I would ask for your support on this with a unanimous support as the agenda and the request stands today for us to be able to present to them later this month for them to work on for us.
Okay, thank you. You've heard the motion and it's properly seconded. We do have amendments, but before I get to the amendments, Councilperson Allen, you're recognized on the main motion.
Yes, I just want to make sure that, so this is not going up like this. It is going to be corrected so that it's all the same tense?
Yes, it'll all be.
Thank you.
It'll all be grammatically correct.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Okay, we have amendments. I'm going to go down my stack here. Councilperson Redd, you distributed one last week. You're recognized on your amendment.
Mine is to ask the state legislature to allow local governments to fall under the same sunshine laws and rules that they follow. They make the laws and we should have the same thing. I make a motion for approval.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of this amendment. Councilperson Zacharias on this amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a question for the sponsor.
Okay.
I think it's interesting that we're choosing, or we're asking to allow us to follow the same rules as the state legislature, not have the state legislature follow the same rules as us. Was there a reason for that?
Well, they are imposing a rule for us that they don't have, and so we should be allowed to have the same rules that they have as, but we could go vice versa too, I suppose, but, that's just what I just believe that we should have the same thing. That whatever their rule is, there's another rule that says, they can use their financial disclosure money to run for mayor or city council, but if you have finance money from being a mayor or a city council person, you can't use that to run against them. It's called incumbency protection. So they have a set of rules just for them, but not. But they make local governments, the officials here, with a different set of rules. And I think it should be the same.
Councilperson Zacharias, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree that it should be the same. I think I will vote in support of this, but I tend to think that maybe instead of lessening the restrictions that the sunshine laws have on us, maybe we should ask them to consider playing by their own rules. That's all. Thank you.
Councilperson Holloman on the amendment.
Yes, on the amendment, I just want a quick explanation. So when the main motion was voted on in committee, I was out of town, but I do respect their decision on everything that they've worked hard on. We've all worked really, really hard on this, and I do agree with the amendment, but I feel like it's not done properly, and so I will be voting down all amendments, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilperson Reynolds on the red amendment.
I would just like to say I appreciate the amendment. I think that the Sunshine Law as written stifles communication and collaboration.
Councilperson Smith on the red amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to ask the sponsor, how does this affect, or will it affect the ethics codes that we're working on now?
Councilperson Red, that's directed to you.
I think that would be a question for council more than me, but I don't think it would, as long as they allow us to do it, I don't think it would would be anything unethical. I mean, as long as it's passed, and they allow it.
Because I think they don't follow ethics codes like we do. Yeah. I don't think, do they?
No, they have a different one than we do.
Yeah,
and that's why I want it to be the same.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Okay.
Okay, Councilperson Allen on the red amendment.
Yes, I agree with the amendment. As for the ethics code, if the state legislature was to change it, it wouldn't be against the ethics code because we're not breaking the law at that point. So if we're changing our ethics code, the Tennessee law supersedes Clarksville law. It wouldn't be a conflict. Thank you.
Okay, any more comment or question regarding the red amendment? Seeing none, are you ready to vote on the red amendment? Every member, please vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
8 yes, 4 no, 0 abstain.
The amendment is adopted. We're now on the next amendment on my stack, Zacharias Amendment to Resolution 4. To the sponsor, Councilperson Zacharias, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the Zacharias Amendment to Resolution 04-2023-24.
You've heard the motion and it's properly seconded. You're recognized for an explanation.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. So it's been a long time since I've really felt the need to write out my comments ahead of time, but this one's too important to mess up. So the amendment, or my amendment, seeks to restore access to the standard of care set by the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists for the Women of Tennessee. Tonight I'm asking this council to adopt this amendment to our legislative agenda, requesting the state legislature take action to resolve a health care issue facing our state. Allowing doctors to provide the highest standard of care, a standard of care established by the experts in obstetrics and gynecology, is in the best interest of all citizens. The resolution that came out of the Legislative Liaison Committee already recognized the importance of industry standards. specifically when it comes to health and safety. We've requested that the state create a grant to fund upgrades to fire stations to bring them up to date with the most current safety protocols. Just tonight, we've recognized the importance of the expertise of industry experts when we voted to postpone a zoning ordinance until we can consult with our subject matter expert. If we're willing to listen to the experts when it comes to zoning, why wouldn't we do the same when we're talking about the health of our loved ones? This is not a pro-life or a pro-choice issue. This is a healthcare issue. Is there any other industry where the government steps in and forbids the leaders of that industry from providing the best quality service they can provide? Imagine you're a passenger on an airplane that experiences a catastrophic mechanical failure. The pilot contacts air traffic control, explains the situation, and the tower acknowledges that there's a 99% chance that this fault will cause the plane to crash, but they are forbidden by law from assisting until the plane falls below 6,000 feet. Or to keep things in the healthcare arena, imagine going to the doctor for a routine checkup, find out you have a treatable condition that, if left untreated, will definitely worsen with permanent and possibly fatal consequences, only to have that doctor send you home and tell you to return once you start exhibiting symptoms of a stroke. Any one of us would find that unacceptable, but that is the reality for people in our state. We heard testimony of one such citizen in this room. The current laws in this state handcuff the very people that we rely on to provide sound medical advice. In our lifetime, we have all witnessed a national debate on the role of government in healthcare with the Affordable Care Act. Many, myself included, stood up and said the government should not be in the business of providing healthcare. If we are going to take that stance, we should be equally willing to say the government should not be in the business of denying health care either. If we continue down this path, Tennessee is going to find itself with another problem. The concept of brain drain is one familiar to educators, although it is usually spoken about at the national level. For decades, the United States has been the beneficiary of other nations' brain drain. We actively recruit the best and brightest students from around the world, and through the use of scholarships and the reputation of our education system, encourage them to come to the United States for post-secondary education and remain here to work. The United States continues to be among the world leaders in technology and innovation as a result. Tennessee has created the conditions for brain drain to occur in our state. States that have passed laws restricting access to prenatal health care in the wake of Roe being overturned have seen a 10% decrease in the number of OBGYN applicants. In these same states, 11% currently practicing doctors report considering leaving the healthcare profession completely, and another 10% are considering moving to states with more permissive laws regarding this type of care. Make no mistake, our state's current stance on this issue is resulting in fewer Tennesseans becoming doctors and significantly hurting our ability to retain the doctors currently employed. Finally, if none of my previous comments have resonated with you, I ask you to consider including this issue in our legislative agenda, or I ask you to consider that including this item in our legislative agenda is essentially asking the representatives in the state legislature to do the job they were elected to do, and that is work towards the will of the people they mean to serve. Our current laws are out of step with voters' views. A Vanderbilt survey of Tennesseans found that 82% of registered voters, including a majority of voters from all party affiliations, feel the current state laws regarding this issue are too restrictive. When I stood in the well and applied for a vacant seat on this council, one of my now colleagues asked me a question. Of all the questions I was asked that night, this one was my favorite because it speaks to the very soul of our representative democracy. That question was, if you were asked to vote on an issue that you feel strongly about, would your personal feelings or those of your constituents determine your vote? My response that night was that I intended to be a representative of the people that I represent. Tonight I ask you all to join me in asking the Tennessee General Assembly to do the same and represent the will of the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized on the Zacharias amendment.
Thank you, sir. I understand the points that you made, or that was made by the previous speaker. However, one thing I have to say in regard to that is when we're talking about that we're doing this for it to be representative of the voters, for the representatives to represent their voters, they have that option when, I'm not phrasing this correctly. That option's before them every time the voters go to ballot. Where this legislative agenda is not for us to be able to push kind of anything political. It's about literally asking them to work on bills or create bills that are needed for us here in Clarksville for the betterment of our citizens. Every time we go to the ballot, we have the opportunity whether we want to vote for that representative or not vote for that representative if they're not doing what's needed for their constituents. if they're continuing to get put in there, then there's a guess there that you would think that maybe they are representing, a large majority of their constituents. We do have the opportunity as city council people to be able to reach out to those representatives outside this legislative agenda request. We can call them, we can text them, we can email them, we can schedule appointments. This is the first year that I didn't do a day on the Hill. It just didn't work into my schedule, and I hated that because I always enjoy going up there. And every time I do, I make a point to schedule appointments with the representatives for our area. I've done it many years for different reasons, and I think it's a great opportunity to sit down and talk to them about anything that I may feel passionately about. And I think if you feel passionately about something, then that's your opportunity to be able to do that as well, just as it is for any other citizen that's in our community. But I've talked to representatives on the state level that have said before that this is not the type of items that we need to be bringing forward on our legislative agenda. They're hearing from lobbyists, they're hearing from a lot of different ones. What they're wanting to hear from us is directly, what can we do specifically for the city to be able to help you function, whether it's from the government level, whether it's transportation, what is it that we can do to help you all out with? And that's what I would ask you to vote this down and not include this on our legislative agenda, and encourage you again, if you have a passion for this, please reach out to your representatives directly.
Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized on the Zacharias amendment.
Yes. So I also wrote mine out because I'm pretty passionate as well. Last year, we voted to include this request in our legislative agenda, as well as legalizing medical cannabis. So those are two items that have been on our agenda in the past. Last year, we centered our concerns on a lack of exceptions for sexual assault, incest, and women's health care. In 2023, there's a documented case of a 13-year-old rape victim forced to carry the traumatic pregnancy to term due to this restrictive abortion ban. The child then started 7th grade as a new mom in the state of Tennessee. Research indicates that states that restrict abortions based on how far along the mother is experience a 38% increase in maternal mortality rate. The United States of America has the highest rate of maternal mortality rate in the developed world. The ACOG and most providers agree that women should have the same access to life-saving procedures when they are pregnant and we as a nation should not practice discrimination in healthcare. Women deserve the same right to survive a pregnancy as a patient experiencing a stroke. No one sends a heart attack patient home to wait things out and see if nature will take its course, advising the patient to return when they feel they're going to die. Under the current total abortion ban, our OBGYN and emergency room healthcare providers must weigh their personal liberty with the practicing medicine and saving a life in accordance with the published best practice based on ACOG and other medical guidelines. In 22, the March of Dimes reported that nearly 1/3 of Tennessee counties are considered maternal care deserts. The fact basing, on back of what the sponsored bill talked about, how our providers are not coming, they're also leaving very rapidly. Henry County, which includes Paris, Tennessee, has closed their OBGYN department at the end of September. They serve 5 surrounding counties and were the only hospital to provide neonatal care. We are forcing births while minimizing healthcare access based on funding and location. I would like to ask yourself, who should make the decision on how best to treat these life-threatening medical conditions? Severe pregnancy-induced high blood pressure, also known as preeclamptic, which can damage organs, cause seizures, stroke, and can be fatal. The termination of the pregnancy is the safest option. It is a common procedure for women to have a pap smear early in their pregnancy, and there are instances where cancer is diagnosed based on this common procedure. There are times when the recommended treatment is not safe during pregnancy, and delaying the care decreases the mother's survival rate significantly. Last month, we heard from Allie Phillips, who had to end her pregnancy due to lethal fetal anomalies. A woman comes to the emergency room with severe blood loss, but there's still a faint heartbeat of the fetus. There is no chance this is a viable pregnancy, and if there is no intervention, the likelihood the woman will not survive. We're counting down by minutes. When a pregnant woman is faced with the requirement of life-saving abortion, we personally agonize over these decisions. My question is, should women and the people they love be allowed to balance the two scales and the medical risk on one side and their desire to be pregnant on the other, or should state legislatures made up of farmers, bankers, construction workers, lawyers, and car salesmen make the decision for women of Tennessee and their families, ignoring the medical standard of care for life-threatening conditions? Abortion is much safer than delivery. In the U.S., fewer than 1 person in 100,000 dies of abortion, but nearly 18 in 100 die of pregnancy. The risk is even higher for minority women. Per 100,000 live births, 41 black women and 26 Native American women will die of pregnancy complications. Before legal access to abortions, women sought reproductive freedom in back alleys and went to emergency room to save their lives if things went wrong. Since the complete abortion ban in Tennessee, women are abandoning medical facilities and the emergency rooms, searching for maternal health care in back alleys in out-of-state hospitals. Make no mistake, the war on women in denial of health care will affect access for all of us. It will put a greater strain on our blood supply, emergency rooms, and operation room access because women are not receiving ACOG standard of care, and then our medical staff is now required to use extreme measures to save our lives. Dr. Michael DeRoche stated, "The state has chosen 0 lives over 1 life right now. In the case where we know that the baby won't survive, that's not a pro-life position. But that's what the state is doing right now with the lives of women." He went on to say, "I'm not pro-abortion, I'm pro-woman. I'm talking about appropriate medical care and bad laws. These are bad laws. I hope that you'll vote yes and show trust for the women in our community and allow them to make the best decisions for their family and respect their privacy." This legislative agenda is about sending a message to our elected officials of items that we want them to work on. What we choose to send is our choice. Thank you.
Councilperson Holloman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll go ahead and I'll just state the obvious. Killing babies is wrong. I just wanted to share that with everybody, just so you know. If you look at population replenishment numbers, let's talk numbers. 2010, it was 1.93 births per woman. So you got to think, man and a woman. You have to have, if you're at dead even population replenishment, you have two babies per woman, essentially. 2020, it was 1.64. We are not replenishing our population, and we're not going to replenish our population here in the United States by killing babies. I mean, do you not understand? Like, we have to come together here in the city. We have to put our differences aside and stop doing these divisive items on the agenda. And we want to encourage our residents to come together, fall in love, and create strong family units and have families. This is not something that Clarksville needs. This is not something that Tennessee needs, and that's all I've got. Thank you.
Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized on the Zacharias amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. I have some comments in reference to 2 speakers ago. March 20th, 2023, House Bill 0883 and Senate Bill 0745 passed, and they are allowing exceptions to the abortion ban. And I'll just read one expert. Abortions will be allowed if the physician determines in the physician's good faith medical judgment, based upon the facts known to the physician at the time, that the abortion was necessary to prevent the death of a pregnant woman or to prevent a serious risk of substantial and irreversible impairment of a major bodily function of the pregnant woman. That addresses a lot of the concerns that you mentioned. following this procedure, there would be no adverse effects on the medical professional that performs this procedure. They would be protected by this. And I think that is a lot different than what we had last year as far as not taking into consideration the woman's risk of health concerns. Again, we, as a legislative agenda committee, met. This came up as an option. The majority of our committee voted it down, and I ask that you do so as well. Thank you.
Councilperson Allen on the Zacharias amendment.
Okay, so one council member said we're not gonna, we shouldn't be putting things that are political on our legislative agenda. Well, we have medical cannabis on our legislative agenda, and that's been political for many, many years. That's why it's still not legal. It's been political. Some people say yes, some people say no. So the same body that decided, that the same legislative committee that said no to this said yes to something that is already political. Last year, it went on our agenda, and so did medical marijuana once it came back up again. While I understand that everybody has a feeling of abortion is right or abortion is wrong, pro-choice, pro-life, if you listen to what the sponsor said, he said no, it's not a pro-life or pro-choice question. It is a health care question. The last thing that I would want is for someone to be confused on what to do with my body. And while I heard what the previous council member said, I wouldn't want anybody to be confused about what should happen with my body health care wise if I walked into a hospital. I wouldn't want anybody to be confused. I would want them to save my life. But right now, doctors are hesitating because they don't know, because it's not clear. What the sponsor is saying is, let's make it very clear. It's not a pro-life or a pro-choice question. It's a make what the doctors can do very, very clear. Let them save the lives. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Councilperson Redd, you're recognized on the Zacharias amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. I heard a lot of talk, and, you know, with all due respects, and however you vote, I'll still pray for you and consider you friendly and everything, but some of it is a little bit of hyperbole, and what's the old saying, 96.82% of statistics are made up, including this one. It depends on who you talk to about your statistics, and someone mentioned about the mortality of, or some statistic in the industrialized world. I don't get that one quite, because it's illegal to have an abortion in Germany, has been ever since at least 1978, the first time I got there, and in most other European countries and many other countries in the world. I don't know what all of them are, but but some people, they make out to be like this is a Martian from outer space where it's illegal to have an abortion. It's not. Most industrialized countries have severe restrictions on abortion. And one of the past speakers here kind of stole my thunder on the bill that's going through the state legislature already to provide for the life of the mother and other things, rape or whatnot. Because I spoke with one of our state representatives about that. But all that being said, I mean, the question for me, and maybe this is an oddball question, but the way I look at it is like this. For me, it's this: is an unborn baby? There's two questions: is it human, and does it feel pain? And I'm not looking at this as a faith thing or my religious thing, although I'm not discounting that, but just taking a look at a scientific belief, I believe it's clear that what we're talking about is a human baby, a human life. And this is standards in the textbook of embryology and gynecology, and even many abortionists will admit, like Peter Singer, who approves of abortion and especially the selective abortion of handicapped infants. He says these are humans. Although preborn baby is a human, the mother still has the right to choose whether or not the baby lives. By definition, this is eugenics. Eugenics is the taking of a life because, and this is not new, it's gone on for a long time, because of race, disability, or social status, or other social economic differences. And it's been that way forever. It's eugenics. It started with this evolution, and then it came to Margaret Sanger, and she was a big eugenics proponent. And here we are today. This ideology is it is also the cause of many atrocities. It is the cause of many genocides, and what it seeks to do is to dehumanize. If you can dehumanize, you can kill, you can enslave, and you can torture. That's gone on for ages. It happened here in our own country with slavery. The answer was, the reason why we can torture and we can enslave is because we can say a whole set of people are not human. This is what Hitler did with the Jews. He said they're not complete human, and this is what he preached, and that was the reason why he was able to do this. And this is the argument today. That's why I asked the question, what is the unborn baby human? Now, I think with the invention or the progress of the ultrasound, the 3D ultrasound, and these miniature cameras that we can actually see inside the womb, we're not talking about the 1940s or 50s, or even when my children were inside of the mothers. The pictures were little grainy things. It was hard to make out anything. But today we can see what is in the mother's womb. And during that 9 months, what is in there? What is a baby doing? They're moving. One of the most common things a baby does in a womb is it kicks, it stretches, it rolls around, it responds to stimuli. Unborn babies can respond to external stimuli, light, sound, touch. It hiccups, it swallows, it's dreaming. Unborn babies go into what we call REM sleep because they can see the eyes, with the eyes closed, how it's REM sleep is whenever you're actually in a deep sleep of dreaming. Of course, 90% of the time it is sleeping. And the unborn baby studies have now said are learning. They can remember the mother's voice and many times the father's voice whenever they hear, and they can recognize this. In short, an unborn baby can play, kick, laugh, cry, yawn, and feel pain. When we went to church, and my wife was pregnant with our middle child, Christina, and we were in church, whenever we'd sing the hymn, she would kick around at that time and move around whenever we'd sing the hymns in church. I was thinking that maybe she was singing too, or dancing like King David whenever he came back into the Jerusalem. But even as early as 8 weeks, we know from testimony from former abortionists that have now turned, and they're no longer abortionists because of what they've seen. Because you can't ask an unborn baby, did you feel pain when you were in your mother's womb? But this abortionist said whenever they had an abortion, these babies tried to move away from the instruments before these instruments would cut their limbs off. That they tried to get away. They would thrash about. It's up to us, I believe, to defend the vulnerable unborn human life. It's up to us to defend the defenseless. I'll ask you to vote no. Thank you.
Councilperson Zacharias, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to respond to a couple of the comments made by previous members of this council. I hear the argument that this is not something that we need to be asking for in our legislative liaison agenda because our state representatives and our state legislature is already being lobbied. There's a big difference between a paid lobbyist and the 5th largest city in the state saying that they want action on this issue. And I think as the city of Clarksville, we wield a large club, and sometimes it doesn't do us any good if we don't use it. I'd like to thank my neighbor to the left for mentioning the law that was passed on April 28th. The stats that I gave about registered voters and their stance on this opinion, those come from after that bill was passed. The people of Tennessee still feel that the laws are too restrictive. I'm sorry to do this, but another colleague specifically mentioned a European country where abortion has been illegal since the 70s. A quick fact check shows that it is not punishable during the first 12 weeks, and it is permitted when the pregnancy poses danger to the physical or mental health of the pregnant woman, something that is currently specifically carved out. Abortion is not legal in Tennessee for the mental health of the mother. And man, I know there was more, but that's all I've got. And I know this is my last bite, so I'm going to leave it at that. Appreciate your vote.
Councilperson Holloman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. So I want to make something clear. A lot of the argument up here is about health care, and it's my body, it's my choice, and for women in healthcare, I totally agree. Like, it's your body, you can do whatever you want, and you need to do what's healthy. But the thing is, if a woman is pregnant, that is 2 bodies. It's not just one body. You have to think about 2 bodies. So just some food for thought. Thank you.
Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
Yes, I would just like to come off the doom and gloom cliff and remind you that we are talking about restoring the standard care set by American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists for women in Tennessee. That means when I go to the emergency room and I'm bleeding or I'm experiencing extreme high blood pressure, I'm not going to pull out this 3-page and call the lawyer, which is what is happening. I don't care what the new law says. I'm going to go to my medical journals. I'm going to go to my peers, and I'm going to practice medicine on this patient. I told my personal stories last time, so I won't tell them again, but I will say I was pregnant 3 times. I had a spontaneous abortion and 2 live births. There is no such thing as a miscarriage on your medical record. All lost pregnancies on your medical record are termed abortion. So when they talk about the numbers, they're talking about women like me who showed up in the emergency room healthy, and I had a spontaneous abortion at 8 weeks. And then my second pregnancy, I experienced high blood pressure. I was in the hospital for 5 weeks. Both of those times, I was an active duty soldier. I was absolutely fit. 6 months after both of those pregnancies, I could maximize my physical fitness test, and I weighed less than 130 pounds. But I would, by Tennessee law, may have died in both of them, because the law says they have to wait until my life is in danger, and they cannot preventively go in and take care of things. So there are times when there's still a heartbeat, but as I said, which was my first spontaneous abortion, there was still a heartbeat, but I'd lost so much blood, I didn't even know where I was. And in Tennessee, that would still be illegal. That health care that was provided to me would still be a felony offense. They would have to take all my medical records, display all of my personal privacy records out there in a court of law to determine that the provider did the right thing. This is healthcare. This isn't about Barbie marching up to Planned Parenthood and saying, oh, I've decided I don't want this child anymore. This is a law about practicing medicine and equity and equality in our state. If your vote says, I trust the women, I think they deserve health care, or I don't trust the women and this law is fine.
Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I think the previous speaker, with exactly how they ended, pretty much supported exactly where my concern lied. And when I spoke on this in the committee, and as I've kind of tried to say here, my concern was that putting this on here, there were going to be people on the committee, or I'm sorry, on this council that weren't going to be supportive of that, and that this would be political. With exactly what was just said by saying you trust the women if you vote in favor of this, you don't trust the women if you don't vote in favor of this. That goes right along with what my concerns were. All the discussion that has gone on here around tonight about this shows that people are very passionate about this. This is a polarizing item. This is an emotional item. People feel different ways, and to judge anybody for how they feel one way or another, in my opinion, is completely wrong. And that's exactly what we don't need to have. Yes, I agree. Clarksville is the fifth biggest city, but we're 13 people. We carry the same vote that every citizen out there has when they go to the ballot. This is not for us to stand up here and swing a big stick. We're voted on for us to be able to vote on local matters, not for us to be a representative on the state level. That's what our state representatives are voted for. Again, this is for us to ask for them to work on items for us. There is absolutely nothing on this agenda as it stands today that is highly political, highly emotional, polarizing. None of that's on there. So I would ask, as one of my fellow council members stated, that you vote against this. And I too appreciate you bringing forward the information that has to do with the changes that were made for the benefit in regard to medical concerns. And I apologize, but I have a hard time believing that our doctors out there don't understand, especially those that practice this, don't understand what the law is before them. I think they were rather intelligent people, which is how they got their medical license in the first place. So for me, I ask that you vote this down and not include this and not force people that are on this council that don't agree with this to have to put their name beside it. Thank you.
Councilperson Allen, you're recognized.
So the one thing I did want to say is everything we vote for, whether we vote for it or against it, it's political. And we're putting our name on something that we didn't vote for. If I vote against, earlier I voted against an ordinance. I voted against it. But because it passed, my name is on it, whether I like it or not. That happens with everything we vote on every day in the city. So for this one to be something different, no. As for this, we are not saying whether you're for or against abortion. I just want no one to be confused if I walk into the hospital to save my life. I don't want anybody to tell me to go back to my car and wait another hour and see what happens. And then 10 minutes later, because I did have an ectopic pregnancy, and if I would have waited an hour, my fallopian tubes would have busted. I would have never been able to have the 3 beautiful children that I have if they had told me to go back to my car and wait and see what happens. So that is what I'm saying. Sometimes when they're looking at our bodies and everything like that, the doctors are looking at my bodies, there can be a question as to whether or not it's a life-saving procedure. In my situation, if they had not taken it and did what they did, I wouldn't be able to have the 3 children that I have today. So I just want to remind you guys that it's not just about, I've never had an abortion that I wanted. Never once. I had 1 ectopic pregnancy and they had to take the baby. The pregnancy turned out to not be viable. But if we were in the confused state that we are now, the way the laws look, I could have died and I would not have been able to have the 3 children that I have right now. I'm asking that we just we ask the legislature to restore that care. Just restore that care to where that doctor and that woman can sit down and make that decision. What's best? I'm not sitting up here saying that abortion should be legal or abortion should not be legal. I'm just saying I want the health care that I need. Thank you.
Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been listening to the comments and trying to rationalize in my brain if I was actually going to make the following comments, because I haven't spoken about it publicly. But about 16 years ago, I went through a very traumatic miscarriage. And to me, it was a miscarriage because me and a doctor weren't deciding that it was time for that pregnancy to be over. It was God deciding that that baby wasn't going to make it. And I spent 9 hours in an emergency room where the medical staff did everything they could to make me comfortable until that process, was over. That's a difference. A natural miscarriage is different from an abortion. And under our current state laws that we have now, there's a decision that can be made for the safety of the mother. It's emotional. And I think that I know this is kind of off topic, but I feel like more women should talk about their experiences with this, because, once it happens, nobody talks about it. And you're sitting in a gynecologist's office for your follow-up after you lose your baby with pregnant women with successful pregnancies. But again, the difference between a natural miscarriage and abortion is pretty different to me. Please vote no. Thank you.
Councilperson Redd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I've heard now some of the previous speakers say that this is not about abortion, this amendment. So I would like to amend the amendment by adding a sentence to the very end of it that says this item should not be interpreted or construed to change Tennessee current abortion laws.
You've heard the motion. Do I hear a second? Fails for lack of a second. Okay, anyone else wish to be recognized on this Zacharias amendment? Seeing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
4 yes, 6 no, 1 abstain.
Amendment fails. We are next on, I'm not sure who gave this to me, or recycling and sustainability. I suspected as much. Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized on your amendment entitled Recycling and Sustainability. We'll call this the Reynolds Amendment 3.
So I motion to amend the legislative agenda to include requesting support for the Tennessee Waste Reduction and Recycling Act.
Second.
You've heard the motion, properly seconded. You're recognized for an explanation.
Okay. So I handed out this is a brief explanation of the law that's already being proposed, and it has sponsors at the state level. Just some background history. Every day, Tennessee municipalities, rural and urban, are facing ever-increasing onslaught of trash. Clarksville is trashy. We hear that all the time. Much of the trash is packaging that can be used once and discarded directly into our landfills. Too much packaging ends up as litter lining our roadways, filling fields, clogging our streams, and hanging in trees. Tennessee is ranked 47th, with just 7% common containers and packaging materials being recycled in our state. The Tennessee River has been determined to be one of the rivers in the world most polluted with microplastics. Did you know that we consume a credit card's worth of plastic each week through our water and food? The worst offenders are plastic bags and plastic water bottles. More than half the plastic ever created was made in the last decade. 28 July is a point in the year where the amount of short-life plastic waste exceeds the global capacity to manage it effectively. Relying on recycling to solve our trash problem is not the answer. Avoiding it is. We need to have a circular infrastructure model to manage our trash. Consumers have little or no ability to influence the amount of or type of packaging they receive from purchasing goods. The producers are the only ones who have control over both the type and amount of packaging associated with products. Current policies have placed the responsibility of managing our trash solely on the rate and taxpayers in Tennessee. Citizens support and want to recycle. Unfortunately, a lack of transparency has eroded their confidence in the disposition of recycled material. Still, to create an efficient and effective recycling process, our state needs to improve infrastructure and support purchasing additional equipment, adding personnel, as well as support and reliable markets. Extended producer responsibility for packaging is a set of policies designed to reduce overall amount of packaging material disposed of, recover valuable materials for reuse in the economy, and transfer the cost of managing the waste of generated buy, sale, or consumer goods to the entities that produce those goods. The purpose of supporting extended producer responsibilities programs include shifts the financial burden of paying for disposal of packaging from the taxpayer to the producers of the packaging and build transparency and confidence into the funding of packaging and recycling processes. Reduces the amount of packaging and waste disposed in landfills and or incinerated. Reduce the amount of packaging litter. Encourages package designs and compositions that are less burdensome to the consumer and more economical for recycling industry. Prioritizes reuse and reduction strategies as the most effective way to accomplish these goals. Engages producers who are best equipped to eliminate packaging waste in a fair and balanced way while protecting our communities. Thus, incentivizing the goals of reduction, reuse, and recycling of packaging while simultaneously enabling markets for the valuable materials generated. EPR supports a circular economy. We've all heard from our residents, let's clean up Clarksville. We're at the point, not only in Clarksville, but in the state, in the nation, in the world, that we really have to decrease our waste. We can no longer recycle and manage it. We've got to decrease it. So this bill is a way to incentivize and is working its way through the state, and I'd like to send the support that we would, as a community, support any initiatives that reduce and reuse waste. Thank you.
Councilperson Allen on the Reynolds Amendment.
So we're basically just asking we're just saying we support this that's already going through the House, that's getting ready to go through the House and the Senate. Okay, so before anybody else asks the question, why didn't this go through the Legislative Agenda Committee, or did it?
That's a question to the sponsor. You
Yes.
recognize.
It did, and it failed 3-3.
Okay, thank you.
Councilperson Little on the Reynolds Amendment.
Yes. I do believe that there needs to be some kind of better way to improve the current way that a lot of these trash and recyclables are handled, and especially our city, to keep it looking good. Right now, when reading through this, unfortunately, the way with the economy and everything's going right now, with any additional dues or anything like that, for such a program like this that is paid by a producer, is just going to get put off onto the consumers. I just wish that there was a better way or a better plan to go forward, instead of, it might not come straight from tax money, but it will hurt the taxpayers' bottom line, because it's just going to get pushed off onto them. That's all.
Councilperson Marquis, you're recognized.
Thank you. So I'm not very familiar with this bill, so I guess maybe you might know. Do you know if they have any plans to expand the commercials and or industrial composting facilities?
Questions that question for the sponsor?
Yeah.
To the sponsor.
So I spoke to several people at the state level that are supporting this, and this bill is to incentivize, to find income and either federal or state money coming in to incentivize exactly those kind of things. It's kind of like the carrot and the stick. Like, we'll help you do that, and then and then coming back in and trying to get them, because if we reduce it and they don't create it, then there's not such a cost of redoing it. So yes, to your answer, but the overall goal is to actually decrease the need to do that.
Okay. Well, I guess because I think that for this to work, you would need those composting facilities because right now, because I looked into this a while ago, because one of the shop owners in my ward uses compostable plastics in the food that he hands out at his restaurant. And the issue is that with those types of materials, while they're advertised as compostable, they have to go to a specific facility in order for that to function. That's why I was asking, are they expanding the facilities? Because even if, like on here it says it creates incentives for brand owners to redesign their packaging. And with food, it's like one of the largest waste that goes to our dumps. So unless we're also creating facilities, having people, change their plastics isn't going to, reduce the waste that we're producing because they have to go to specific facilities. Yeah.
That wasn't a question. That was a statement.
Yeah, it was a statement. So I
Okay.
guess that's kind of where I'm going with that is I'm not against this. That's fine. I hope that the state is also taking into account that there are other things that need to be done apart from incentivizing people to, recycle and reuse. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilperson Red, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I wish that the sponsor of the, if could have brought this at the executive committee meeting, because now I just now started to read. I'm trying to read this on my phone, and I don't have my glasses here, but I would suggest bringing it at the executive. Mine was only one sentence. I brought the executive committee meeting, but I tried to read it, but I can't. Sorry.
Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. One of the reasons that I voted against this at the Legislative Agenda Committee was the unknown costs. So if people are encouraged to collect the recyclables, where are they going to go? How much is it going to cost to modify our convenience centers and our landfills to take in more recyclables than they already do? And then will there be a law passed that will require waste collection services to provide recycling containers and collect it separate when they're picking up trash? There's just a lot of unknowns for me as far as costs go. And I'm a fiscal person, so those are things that I like to know or have an idea of on the front end. I don't think there's anything wrong with encouraging businesses to use sustainable products and incentivize them that way, but I'm not sure what the cost would be on the taxpayers to make modifications and also have to pay more maybe for collection services for those recyclables if this was implemented.
Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
Yeah, I would just like to remind everyone that the goal is to make the companies personally responsible or more financially responsible. Instead, we're paying for it now. When we're paying for it in our trash, we're about overrun in our we're having to purchase more land because of the trash, because we can't have no place to put these products that are not breaking down. So it's reuse, recovery, and or recycling programs. So it's the three trifecta. It's not just one. It's not to make everything, because even a number 2 plastic can only be reused one time. So the goal is, why do we need to keep putting? Do we need to always put something in plastic, or are there things that we can put in a different packaging? I remind you, until 1950, we didn't use plastic for packaging. We used paper, or we used other more recyclable items. So it's really about decreasing, and then what we can't decrease, making sure that we can reuse or recycle. So it's a trifold, and we're paying for it. We're talking about who's paying. We're all paying $15 a month or $15 a quarter or whatever for our trash, and we're ratepayers for them to pick up our trash. So this is just making sure that the people who are creating the trash are also responsible for those costs.
Any other comment or question regarding this amendment? The only exception I have is Clarksville is not trashy. We do have a litter problem, but we are not trashy. All right, we're not. Okay, we're voting on the Reynolds Amendment. All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
6 yes, 6 no, 0 abstain.
Amendment fails. I see no more amendments. Any comment or question regarding the legislative agenda, the resolution 4 as amended? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. This is on the legislative agenda as amended. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
10 yes, 3 no, 0 abstain.
Resolution 4 is adopted. We're now on mayor and council member comments. Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Really quickly, I just want to remind everybody that the 7th Annual Welcome Home Veterans Celebration starts next Wednesday here in Clarksville. And it's a celebration to recognize veterans of all eras, but specifically the Vietnam era. And veterans come in from all over the country for local reunions. And Saturday, September 16th, I asked the public to come out at 10 a.m. to cheer on and show appreciation for the veterans who will be in the Welcome Home Veterans Parade. Kicks off at 10 o'clock at First Baptist Church, and it wraps around the courthouse. And it's just really... Last year, there were a lot of people lining the streets, and I think it was the first year that I saw the community come out for these veterans. And I just asked if you could just give an hour of your time to come out and cheer those veterans on. I know it would be greatly appreciated. And I know the mayor's participating, and I'm one of the organizers. If it's not organized, I was not involved. Thank you.
Councilperson Smith for comments.
Yes, Mayor, I'd just like to make clarification on the red amendment. When I said the certain government follow the ethics code, I was thinking about the judicial system, who are the only federal government judicial officers that do not, who are not subject to specific and binding codes of ethics. So that's where I said, do they have codes of ethics? And so that's why I said what I said. I was thinking about what I have saw in the news, and I know that the judicial system, the United States judicial system, do not follow or are subject to certain rules and laws that we follow. So that's why I said that, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Councilperson Zacharias, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. So I got to do something this last weekend that people my age don't normally get to do. I got to welcome a new daughter. I traveled up to Michigan to see my son marry his beautiful new bride, and congratulations to both of them. And I wish them the best of luck in future success. And I hope they're not watching this right now because they are cruising the Mediterranean on their honeymoon. So,
all right, let's welcome them to the Zacharias family. Councilperson Allen, you're recognized for comments.
So as you all know, there's a population that is very near and dear to my heart, maybe because I'm a member of that population, but it's the Gold Star families. It is the survivors of our families that have lost a soldier. So on the 24th of September is Gold Star Mothers and Family Day. On Fort Campbell, each council member should have gotten an invitation to the Gold Star Mothers and Family Day celebration. That's the Friday before that Sunday. If you received an invitation, please consider coming out and being a part of that ceremony. It's always very beautiful. This year we're actually wearing pictures of our loved ones, and each person will have like a lanyard with a picture of their loved one that they lost. So I would ask that you guys come out. It is a very, very good event, and I'm sure that our survivors would love to see each and every one of you there. Thank you.
Councilperson Zacharias, you're recognized for comments.
all right, sorry, last one. Here's my obligatory. Come get a cupcake. That's all.
Are they sugar-free and carb-free?
You're out of order. You're out of order. Councilperson Streetman, you recognize for comments.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to remind the council members that we will be presenting our legislative agenda to our state representatives on September 21st. Those of you that have not RSVP'd already to Miss Emily Matthews at the county, please do so. You'll need to let her know by September 13th whether or not, if you will be attending. So please reach out to her and let her know on that, and I look forward to seeing you all there.
Thank you. Just two more things. First of all, congratulations to our own Clarksville Police Department Chief David Cockrell for being elected to the Board of Directors of the Tennessee Association of Chiefs of Police. And then the spirit of things family, happy birthday to my much, much older sister from her much, much younger brother, Joy. Happy birthday, sis. No further comments. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Without objection, we are adjourned.